Welcome to the Soul Tribe Podcast. The Soul Tribe Podcast was created to help you navigate through the world of spirituality, wellness, and self-development in an easy, grounded, and relatable way. We break down everything from the Akashic Records, manifesting, spirituality, and so much more. We want to help expand your boundaries and bring the spiritual world to you in a fun and easy way. Get ready to be inspired with tips, tools, and easy to digest information. Let's do this.
Hey guys, welcome back. Soul Tribe Podcast here. This episode is going to be me, Lucia, interviewing Courtney Starkey. And I like to call her the genius hypnosis lady. Genius hypnotherapist. And we've had her on before, so those of you who have already been following the podcast already know exactly who she is. For those of you who are maybe new here, you'll learn all about her, even further understand her in this interview. But she basically has done all types of training, hypnosis-wise, like Dolores Cannon and the Brian Weiss, and it goes on. She's also created her own programs and teachings, and she has a book as well. So all that stuff you can find in the bio, the links and things like that. But this episode was just me, Lucia, and her. And the idea was we were going to talk about dragons. And since Lorena's not so much into the subject like we are, we decided to come together and just do it together without Lorena. But we didn't stick to dragons. We talked about so many other things, which is a typical episode with Courtney because it's impossible for us to stick to one subject because there's so much we want to always talk about. With that said, we do plan on having her back at some point soon because we realized that we really both wanted to discuss the whole issue of like spiritual work and money, whatever taboo or perspectives there are on like being able to create abundance in your life and still do your work. That's good work. That's could be considered spiritual related or spiritual work. You still have the right to kind of have that come into your life. So we're going to do an episode all about that. But meanwhile, this episode, you'll hear about so many things, including, for example, venom, which we never even thought we would end up talking about. Enjoy the episode, and we'll have her back on soon. But meanwhile, you guys got a lot to listen. Enjoy. I want to know, because I was like, you were my muse, because I was trying to go back to Cayman. I'm still in the process of that. I'm like, oh, Courtney totally did it. And then now the other day, I was like, dude, you're in Hawaii. You're my muse. You're like, oh, but I'm going to Washington. I'm like, wait, what? What's the update?
Okay. So I just published a YouTube video about this because I've gotten so many questions. I've gotten questions about this for a while now, so much so that people are like, are you going to make a YouTube video about it? I'm like, yes. So if anyone wants to hear the longer version of this, it's in my YouTube recordings. It's very obviously titled, but the short story is March of 2022, before the world had even opened up again. So I was thinking, I don't even know if I'll get to go back to Hawaii, and I'm still Hawaii obsessed at this point. And I'm receiving a soul empowering hypnosis session from one of my students. And I get this message that I'm supposed to open up an SEH, soul empowering hypnosis, an SEH retreat center in Washington State. And I was just like, what? I'm Hawaii. This is very out of the blue about Washington State. Now, I like it because my top 3 favorite states are Arizona, or not in that order, but Arizona, Washington, and Hawaii. Actually, flip the order.
Maybe you can have one in all of them.
I would be very happy about that, right? We need a good build. It's going to keep building for sure. And actually, I really let that seed be planted. I really like that idea because all 3 places are very magical. And then, okay, so you're going to love this. This is actually the first time I've said this part out loud, in public anyway.
Exclusive, everybody, exclusive.
It is an exclusive. So Lucia, she gets it out of me, but I know that you'll appreciate this, right? Because we don't necessarily trust the powers that be, and we don't necessarily want to participate in all of that. And Washington State actually has 0 state income tax.
Oh, really?
Yes. So it's one of the only states where you can legally go, Well, I didn't want to participate in that anyway.
Oh.
I mean, of course I would participate if taxes went to something really good.
Girl, I'm with you. Why do you think I live in Cayman Islands? It's a tax-free haven.
Okay, yes. And for anybody who's watching and they're like, what? But taxes are helpful to people. I agree that they can be if they're used properly. That's why
But they're usually not.
Exactly. So for the longest time, I was like, I don't mind paying taxes. Like, I want to make sure that it goes to people who are in need. And you pay attention, and you're like, I don't think this is going to people who are in need. Like, I've been paying attention. I'm pretty sure that's not happening. So, and then for a long time, I was like, I just wanted to go to public schools and roads. And I'm in Hawaii now, and the public school system is not great here, and the roads are even worse.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's definitely not going to those two things.
That's like an island thing, isn't it? It's a bit of an island thing.
No, I'm not sure, but it's not great as far as the level of taxes compared to what the people get for what they're paying. So long story short, as far as that part, Washington definitely has that perk. But then that's just sort of like the practical, like earth realm magic that I appreciate about Washington State. But the magic is I get this message. And like I said, it was in March of 2022. Didn't really think about it, but it was so off the wall that I remembered it really clearly. And then fast forward to this past fall of 2022, and I got an SEH student who's facilitating a session on actually a student of mine from when I was teaching CHT, MHT, certified hypnotherapist, a master hypnotherapist. So that student who's receiving the session doesn't know me that well at that point. She does now, but at that point doesn't know me that well. The person who's facilitating the SEH session does know me well. So the client in that situation, she starts getting messages about me and SEH, and she says, Courtney's going to open up a retreat center in Washington State.
No way.
Yeah. And so the practitioner who does know me and is aware of that information, she messages me and she's like, does this person know about this? I was like, she definitely does not know about that. And then they both gave me permission to watch that like 10 minutes of the session. And they were like, you have to watch this. So I press play, I'm watching it. And not only is she getting information about Washington State, she gets the name of the town. Close, like it's a little scrambled, but I'll tell you what it is in just a second. I had already identified the town and hadn't told anyone.
So you were already looking at that town, you mean?
Yes. So
I've
been working with some clients in Seattle. Yeah. And I had this couple, they both had sessions, and both of them independently were talking about how much they love their cabin, right? They love their cabin. And, if you've been to Seattle, you want cabins and evergreen trees to be around, but they're not really there. But they live close to Seattle. I'm like, where do they live that they have a cabin that is close to Seattle? So I looked at the town, and sure enough, it's a very quick drive to Seattle, but it's already starting to go up into the mountains. Check. Beautiful.
Oh, I love that.
Yes. The evergreen trees, like what you think Washington's going to look like. It actually looks like that. Check. Yes. Cabins and, actual property with actual trees are there. Check. Yes. And so in this session that I'm listening to, the client says it's in a town called something like Sequoia. And the town's name is Issaquah. So if you just
close enough.
the syllables, and I was like, girl. And then she says, and I see one of the buildings, and there's a wall made entirely of glass. And so I'm like, okay, got to hit the pause button. I'm gonna look up properties in Issaquah, just see what's there. So I put in 2 acres or more, because if you're gonna have a retreat center, you need some acreage, right? And so there are 3 listings that fit the bill, and one of them looks cute. And so I click into it. And when you click into it, the very first picture that pops up is of the back of the house. And it has a solarium, which is basically a room made entirely of glass, right? And I'm like, well, there it is. And so a couple hours earlier, I had been doing a meditation, self-guided hypnosis session about this property, right? And they had taken me inside of the house. And so I saw the loft with these medium to dark wood color beams. And so I see the solarium, and I'm like, I wonder what the inside of the house looks like. So I click in a few more times, get into the house. And sure enough, it has the loft with the medium to dark wood beams that I saw a couple hours earlier.
No way.
Like, what is this? Now, here's the thing. Also fun. They had been asking me to watch that session for about 2 weeks. and I hadn't done it because I was still in this phase of telling myself I was too busy. I'm out of that phase, thank God. And when I say phase, I mean first 43 years of my life, but I'm finally out of that phase. So it took me 2 weeks to watch it. And then I look, and that listing came on the market one day before. So if I had watched that session 2 weeks earlier, I wouldn't have been able to see it. And then what's also interesting is that, I mean, it's like no other listing that I've seen there compares. Like it's by far the best, and it's sold already. And so I'm in a big trust exercise with the universe where I'm like,
See if you can somehow get it.
Yeah. Where I'm like, I know that this is coming. I don't know when, I don't know how, but I know it's coming. And I'm going to have a lot of fun playing around in different areas of Washington in the meantime, right? Because I have all this freedom now. I can just go and explore and do whatever I want, which is another phase that I'm really enjoying.
Do you plan on doing both then? Do you plan on being back and forth between Hawaii and Washington then eventually?
Well, I kind of always have, funny, Washington, D.C. and Hawaii, I've kind of always been back and forth. So I imagine that it'll be more of the same because I've already been doing that for a decade. So I won't live here, but people who don't realize that I moved back in 2013 don't realize that I've moved until I tell them, because I'm here so frequently. That they're like, wait, you moved? But like, they still see me at my favorite restaurants and, but
that's funny. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just because I get to visit so often. So it'll just be like back to that continuation of being able to come for like weeks and months out of the year. But the home base will be Washington State, which I am pretty excited about because again, it's so beautiful there.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And then, so it reminds me a lot of, because at one point you were thinking that you were attracted to Alaska. So there has some aspects, it's just a bit easier to do things there, obviously. Right.
Yeah.
So it's almost like you kind of found a better place that kind of has the Alaska vibe in a way.
Well, what's interesting about that, we should get into that too. I don't remember when our last interview was. It was I know it was the absurd amounts of protection interview.
Was that the last one?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So I don't remember what month that was. And I don't remember if I had already like made the public announcement that Charles, the husband, I jokingly call him the husband. I don't know if I'd already talked about that we were making the friendship official, which is basically.
No, you talked about on the Patreon.
Okay.
I remember that. Yeah.
Okay. So Charles was the one who was actually into the idea of Alaska. And of course, like, again, I love the mountains and those beautiful trees and the freedom that comes along with being in a state that's, red leaning. By the way, I just want to be clear. I am so liberal. I sound conservative. Like I'm so liberal that I actually mean it when I say live and let live, just be cool. And like, I think that's super liberal, but it has suddenly been turned into like a more conservative.
I think it's been turned into an extreme thing for some scenarios. And so it's like a little bit like in your 100%. Like, if you don't talk about this and support this with me, then you're against it. No, I'm just concentrating on something else, man.
Right. Yeah. It's been, the last several years have been very interesting to watch. Yeah. So when I say like, I just like freedom. Yeah. Period. I just like freedom.
Like everyone do whatever the hell they want to do. And let me do it the way I want to do it too. And that's it. Let's just all be happy.
Yeah. I think also we're so lucky because when it comes to hypnosis, Akashic records, etc., like it's really a very powerful, beautiful version of freedom where it's like, okay, we don't have to stick to the confines or the societal norms or the rules where if you look at them from afar, you're like, why are these the rules? So yeah.
I mean, even if you ask the Akashic records, like when people will come to me for readings and they'll ask about something specific, they'll be like, they always state you have free will, so you can decide whatever you want. But what's most aligned with your energy, that's going to be most convenient for you, is this over here. But hey, you're always free to choose whichever route you want. So the Akashic records are always saying that.
You know what's interesting? Let's make sure we segue into this at some point, and who knows, maybe this is the point. But that idea of this is what's aligning with you best right now. So what I'm working on right now is helping people to timeline shift.
I wanted to talk about that today. I have something to tell you.
And so it's like, well, if you get this reading and they're like, hey, this is what aligns with you best now. And you might be like, Okay, I hear you. What if I timeline shift into something like upgraded, and then that's actually the thing that I become most aligned with, right?
Yeah.
Feels like
Yeah.
it's worth trying.
I saw a video of you asking for people to give you updates that you had done an exercise or something to do a timeline shift, and you wanted to see if someone was noticing. I don't know how did you state it, or how did you say it?
Yeah, so it was AM, oh, I'm sorry, 8 a.m., 8 a.m. Hawaii time, the morning of January 23rd, 2023. And so I made a YouTube video, sent it out to all the social media, sent an email, etc. And I asked people, I was like, hey, can you please let me know, did you feel this? And I said, and please let me know if you didn't feel it, right? Like I need to know, like, what was your experience during that time? Everybody that wrote back, except for one person, they were like, yeah, like and it was all different, right? Like somebody said that
Your 8 a.m. for me is what? It's later. It's later.
Let's see, what time are you right now?
I am 9:30 p.m.
Okay, I'm 10:30. So that means it was probably 7:30 p.m. your time. Yes, so
Yeah.
dinner time
Okay.
on the 23rd. Yeah. And so everybody, except for one person, what's funny too is multiple people also wrote this where they said, at first I was going to write back and say, no, I didn't feel anything at that point. But then I thought about it more and I was like, oh, wait, I actually did have something going on during that time.
What was like personal things that these people were accounting to, or?
A wide variety of things. Like one person mentioned that she was feeling like right around that time, very specifically, she took notice of feeling a deep sense of gratitude for how her life was going. So just like, and you know, like that sounds very normal, except for how often do we actually do that?
Yeah,
right?
we're too busy.
Yeah. Yeah. And so she was doing it and she was noticing that she was doing it and feeling even gratitude for feeling that gratitude. And so it was something that happened right then. I still don't really have an answer for the question I was asking, and maybe I never will, because how could people really answer it? But what I was trying to get to was, how should I say this? What I'm trying to understand is, did we shift timelines together, right? Like,
That's what I understood. Yes.
Yeah, like, did we shift timelines together? Like, did everybody who's connected?
You can take me with you anytime, by the way.
It's so good. It's so good. Well, that's the thing. I do assume that my crew, right? So those of us who love each other and we're cheerleaders and supporting, and it's like, oh my God, like forever teammates, right? I do assume that if I'm going into an upgraded timeline for me, I'm also going into an upgraded timeline for you, because we're on the same team. So it's like, if you're in the NFL on a team, like everybody on the team wins that Super Bowl ring.
Yes.
So like nobody gets excluded from the Super Bowl ring. So, but my question is like, when I did that, did I help you guys also have a positive nudge?
I have a response personally, and I was going to answer your message, but it happened a little bit after. And I said, this girl took me with her.
Okay. Thank you. Because I'm really wondering about that. Because I don't know if you guys were already rocking it. And then me.
No, there was a shift for me. I don't know if it was that day or the next day. I think it was the same day.
Okay.
But did you see the news about the Earth core stood still and changed and moved? You didn't hear about this?
No.
It was all over the news. Girl, where do you live in Hawaii? It doesn't come out of Hawaii. So they found out that at some point the Earth core stopped moving and then reversed in direction. Now, what's important about this is that I studied the universal information, the information that comes from like Pleiades. And so what the Pleiades were giving information wise about the change towards a new Earth, they were saying that the first thing that we were going to notice was the Earth core was going to stop and reverse directions, and that was our indicator that we were now upon new Earth.
What?
I'm full of goosebumps when I'm saying this to you.
Same. All the legs, or
yes.
All two. I don't know what lifetime I was tapping into, where I have more than two, but all the legs.
And so that for me, I don't know if it was the day you announced that, the day after. I think it was the day you announced that, the day I found out about it. And then I told the Patreon Telegram group, and we were talking about it, and I was like, guys, that's it. The 4-3 structure is like now becoming 5D structures very soon. We're already on new Earth, and now we have all the systems set up. So all we have to do is anchor into the new systems and say, I'm done with 3D and the Matrix, and like you said, the stolen tax money and all that stuff, right? And so that was basically what I received after, or I saw after I saw your video, and I was like, I have an interview coming up with her. I'm gonna wait to tell her about it.
Yes. Oh my God. I'm so glad we decided to record the pre-talk, because we cannot not say interesting things. Like, we have to always, like, it's always interesting. Okay.
It depends on who you ask.
And so you were filling in some blanks for me. I think that's why it's so important for those of us who are like this to actually talk to each other, because you end up, and to be your truest weird self, because we allow ourselves to say whatever we need to, and we fill in the blanks for each other. You were filling in some seriously wonderful blanks where, I was meeting with Michelle. I don't know if you know Michelle yet. You probably did take the SEH class together, because she's been in all of the SEHs. She's from Hawaii. Sweet. So sweet. Oh yeah, I'll send you more information about her later, but she lives in Hawaii. So I'm having dinner with her, I think the next night, because she's a numerologist. And I was like, girl, if I'm going to timeline shift, suggest a day. And she was like, 1, 2, 3, do it. And I'm like, I'm on it. So she picked the day, and I'm like, I'm on it. And then, and so I was talking to her about what I had noticed that were the shifts. And so just real quick to catch everybody up, the shifts that I noticed were, I went to my favorite class at the local gym right after the timeline shift. At the end of that class, I had 3 different people say really magical things to me. I had 2 people that I talked to before who had not said magical things to me before. They flagged me down to get my attention. I was ready to go, right? Flag me down, start chatting. One of them out of the blue starts talking about how she started microdosing mushrooms, and she's whispering it, which is so cute, because I'm so used to all of this. I was like,
me too. Yeah.
And so she's talking about, and she's like, yeah, and you know what? I really think that the powers that be don't want us accessing this, because they don't want us to really think. And I was like, yeah. And then her friend, who had been kind of quiet and listening, she was like, yeah, I think that's why the school system is the way that it is, because they don't really want you thinking. And I was like, yeah. I'm like, oh my God, what is happening? It's like they're in my brain and just saying it. I'm like, and so that was a really fun 10-minute conversation. At the end of that, then I end up running into another lady who was in my gym class. Earlier, she'd announced to the class she lost her wedding ring. And so, and you know, I want her to find her ring. And so I'm willing to say something really weird just in case it helps her. So off to the side, I was like, listen, ask the angels and the fairies if they will help you find the ring. I was like, I'm being real serious. Like, just ask them. Like, okay. And so, and then I had this magical conversation with these 2. I'm walking out to the parking lot. I see the lady who has made the announcement about her ring. And I was like, hey, did you find it? And she was like, no, not yet, but I am definitely going to ask the fairies. Now, for me, what stands out about that is that most people would find the angels. They would go for the angels. I would, yeah. Yep. Yeah. And she went with the fairies. And I was like, that's interesting. And so she gave me a really good tip where I start, like, I'm trying to like piece it together, right? Like, clearly this like trio of women, like, that's unusual. And also at the gym, right? Like, nobody thinks that they're going to have magical conversations at the gym.
No.
And so then I start thinking, like, what is this? I realize I think that we're entering into a fairy phase. So for me, my path has been, I love that we're going to talk about dragons, and the dragons are like, wait, let's talk a little bit more.
The fairies would be elementals though, right?
Yes. Yeah.
That makes sense with the new earth.
Yes. This is what I'm saying. Like, you're piecing so many things together. So I love how I'm like yelling right now, where I'm like,
I'm excited. Yeah.
I'm so tickled at the idea of Lorena watching this later and being like, these 2.
She's going to listen to the whole thing because she's going to be doing the editing. Hi, Lorena. Thank you for doing that.
Hi, Lorena. We love you so much. Okay. So I'm starting to piece all this together. And for me, I know everybody's going to have a different path, but for me, it feels like the angels came in first. Again, most palatable. Like that was my first in early 2018. I have a surgeon, not just a regular old doctor, but a surgeon who's the very first client who says that she is an incarnated angel. She didn't even want to say it. She didn't know. It just came in her hypnosis session. And I was like, angels cannot incarnate? Like I had no clue. And then
you could be a fractal.
Yeah. I had no, this was all like very new to me, right?
Yeah.
And so she says that, and then there's like this angel phase. And so like that comes in. Oh, you know what? I'm skipping something. A lot of people had already heard of star seeds. Like star seeds, kind of like light worker was fairly common within, like I would meet at book clubs and talk about all this stuff. And it seemed like everybody was pretty familiar with the term light worker and with star seed. So I feel like star seed was actually first phase. Then the idea of incarnated angels was second phase. Then dragon, this most recent phase, came in really strongly, which is beautiful because it feels like tapping into like being connected to, places other than here, starseed, being connected to the angels, like that really loving, powerful, but also softer part of us. And then being connected to the dragons, which is very like, it's go time. Like, yes, give hugs, but also sometimes you just got to burn some shit down. Like, and be okay with it. Just like a forest fire where it's like, no, like what happens afterward is actually really beautiful regrowth. Right. So feels like we needed that, like I call it swagger, where it's like we sort of need that dragon, like swagger, where it's like, okay, we can do what we need to do. And now it feels like fairy phase, which is very exciting because it connects into the earth, like you were saying. And then also, I think something that goes underreported is that the fairies, I find them to be the best helpers of all time. They're amazing at it. They love doing it. If you ask the fairies for help, like you can hear, it's like a cheering section behind you where they're like, oh my God, like she finally asked for help, like, yes. And then like, they're the best and they like showing off. They're really good at it. They're like, I just needed you to ask, right? Yeah. And so it feels like, yes, we have all of this like connection and love and self strength and power and all of that. But like, let's remember, we also have these amazing teammates and are deeply connected to the earth. And so one thing that's interesting, and I love that your crew, like they're planning to bridge fully into the 5D. I know I'm supposed to stick tight with bridging into both. I know I'm supposed to.
And you know what? I've heard quite a few people say that. You're not the first person to say that, where they say most of the teachers won't be able to go into 5D because then they can't, I guess, link up in this case, right? You can't understand people that are in 3D still and then get them to 5. So a lot of teachers are going to be dead in the middle, like you're saying. Exactly. Yeah.
I love the word bridge because it feels very like you're actually really nicely in both. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So like you want to scooch over. If 3D is just like a little tough one day, you're like, I'm just going to go over to 5D for a bit. Like, replenish, like, okay, all right, bridging evenly between the two. And it feels like similarly to the 3D, 5D bridging, a message that I've gotten a lot from my team is I'm like so in the spirit realm all the time. Like, and being here, like I feel like a helium balloon. You know how they've got the little string? Like, I feel like I've got this little string tethering me to the earth.
Okay.
Like, that's the only thing that has me tethered to the earth. And I'm really just this helium balloon. And so my team was like, Courtney, like, you really have to try to like bridge better into the earth energy.
What sign are you?
Cancer. I'm first day of Cancer.
Okay.
What are you getting?
Characteristic? No, I know. I'm trying to remember because I don't know my signs very well.
Okay. So I don't know that much about astrology. I just know that there are various opinions about cancers. Some good, some not so good.
Oh, yeah. You guys are emotional though, right? You guys are emotional.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I was first told about the characteristics of a Cancer, it was actually the surgeon who knows that she's an angel. She was like, what sign are you? I'm like, Cancer. And she goes, oh, it makes sense. I was like, what does that mean? And she was like, well, you take really good care of people. Like, you really want to make sure that everybody's doing okay. And I was like, oh, that's nice. So that was my first intro. And that's really nice. And I'm going to stick to that one. Because then I read more about it. I was like, everybody thinks we're crybabies. Ignore that. Ignore that I cry all the time. It's It's irrelevant. No, but like I do have a tendency to cry where if something's really beautiful, I'm going to tear up. If something is sad, I'm going to tear up. Like it feels like my tear ducts are one of the ways that I express.
It's a release.
Yeah. And there's release there. Right. So yeah, confirmed crier.
Dude, me too. And it's just, I think it's the new way of being. Like we were taught to not show your emotions and don't, I'm sure our parents wouldn't even cry in public. They'd wait to go home. And we're just like, you're on the street and it doesn't matter. It's coming out. It's coming out.
Oh yeah. I have perfected the silent cry where like I'll be telling a story about a movie that I saw and I'll be telling it like the next day in a restaurant. And like, I'm crying in public and Charles, the husband, he's like, could you stop doing that? Because it looks like I'm making you cry to anybody who's watching. And you're just talking about a movie.
Oh, that's kind of true, actually.
Yeah.
So, oh, this guy's mean. What is he saying to her right now?
So yeah, so I learned to tell my stories like in the house. And like, I don't even know the crying is coming. I'll be partway through a sentence and then I'm like, oh no.
It just comes up.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, so I feel like we're entering into this phase where there's a lot of bridging for some of us where like we're supposed to bridge 3D, 5D. We're supposed to bridge earth plane and spirit realm. And then if your crew is like, no, we're just going to cleanly do 5D, etc. But like you still know me, right? So you're going to be able to like funnel information back to me. So like the network, the teamwork still exists very strongly, which is really nice.
It's really interesting. And now we're going to start talking about dragons. This is the reason why we came here today, because I wanted to mesh what you've gotten, which I actually don't know the details, with what I've gotten, which you don't know my details. And I'm pretty sure they're going to come in together, piece together pretty well. So it's going to be interesting. And remind me to talk about angels again when we get to the end of it, because I was thinking about something about angels and dragons later on.
Do you know, maybe I'm doing a spoiler alert, but do you know that angels and dragons really, really like each other?
Oh, that's what I was going to get to.
Oh, I love it.
So, I mean,
I don't know everyone.
This is like, so this isn't like information I have. This is kind of like, when you get that inkling and you're like, something you just kind of get, and I was thinking about the typical image of Archangel Michael, like the image where he's with the sword and he's supposedly attacking a dragon. He's supposedly killing it.
No chance.
But
yeah,
I look at that and I think, is it possible that they're just showing, or whoever was kind of channeling that imagery at some point that downloaded that book, at some point it started and everyone just kept drawing and Michael that way with the sword and the dragon. Is it possible that it's almost like you have to tame a part of yourself to become your own master?
I think that is a fair assessment. Yeah, because whenever I work with my clients that know that they're connected to the dragons, there's this interesting thing where they play small in one way and then another way. The first is they play small where they're like, no, not little old me. I can't be connected to the dragons. Like I'm just little old me, right? Playing it small. But then the universe works on them and they're like, no, just go ahead and own it, embrace it. But then they play small in the exact opposite direction where they're like, oh no, like I'm a dragon. What if I burn the entire village down? And I'm like, you went from I'm not powerful at all to I'm so powerful and can't control it that I'm going to burn the village down. I'm like, how about if we acknowledge that you're very, very powerful and you're so kind-hearted, you don't want to burn a village down, that you will be able to use that fire, that energy, that power for good. And then everyone's like, I am on board with this. So there is that taming of that part of us that's like, oh shit, like am I
wait, did you say that you thought that they were together? What was it that you had said?
The angels and the dragons?
They're both in 12th dimension, by the way.
Oh yeah, see, I have no clue about stuff like that. Yeah, I think of them as besties. And I think that we can be hybrids of things.
Yes.
I told you yet about, this is going to be so interesting. Have I told you yet about the story of me being a hurt angel and being nursed back to health by a dragon?
Yeah, I believe it.
We definitely should talk. Do you want to talk about it right now or later?
Go ahead. Yeah, tell me.
Let's do it. Okay. So, and it's one of those things where you're like, you have to take yourself into hypnosis a couple different times to like piece together the story. So after piecing together a few parts of the story, what I figured out is that there was some battle. I think it was on the earth plane. And then, but it's like earth plane, but also something different. There was some battle. I end up getting, and I'm in my angel form in that battle. then I end up getting injured and just sort of like floating through outer space, essentially. And like, definitely not going to make it. And then this dragon comes in, again, kind of like an outer space environment, rescues me, nurses me back to health, but then also teaches me the way of the dragons. And so I sort of got graduated into the dragons. And that's not saying that dragons are better than angels. It's just more like this is original form. And then you get graduated into like this next thing that you've learned, right? Mm-hmm. And so it feels like sort
Can
of.
I just jump in with something to confirm that for you? Mm-hmm. You don't know this?
Yeah.
The white dragon that's in the 12th dimension, they're originally genetists. They work with genes. So it makes sense that you're saying that you received information where you said the word hybrid, which my ear heard, and you also said that they somehow fixed you. Well, they actually, those beings work with genes. They're part of our avatar creation.
Guess what color this dragon is? It's like
what is it?
It's like a white with this like medium green underlay. Like, you know how there's some plants where they call the plant silver, and if you look at them, what's happening is it's this interesting mix of like white and green, but like primarily white. It was that color.
I literally have on my notes here today, I want to talk to you about the white dragon that's in the 12th dimension, and that they're part of the order that's called Voronandek. And Voronandek, they're genetists. They literally, that's their thing. That's what they do. They work with genes, and they've helped create our avatar bodies, which are 22 different races. So we are a mix of 22 different races.
Like all of us have a similar mix of the 22, or do some of us have more leanings?
Some of us have a little bit more, and some of us are trying to get there. But the idea is that all of the world was supposed to combine with each other, and the globalization of the races of like people from one country with another country were supposed to come together because we all had different genes, and we were supposed to create the perfect mix of the 22 races.
Cool.
So that's where we are. And the 22 races then has this, we have this like genetic 12 strand code that's our DNA that then activates with the 5th dimension. And then we are actually the most powerful race in this whole universe.
What?
Because we're all the races mixed together with all the abilities of all the races. I know, right?
Oh, that's so cool. Okay, so when you say all of the races, I'm assuming you don't mean that on the Earth plane, that all 22 are represented. I'm assuming you mean some of the 22 are on the Earth plane, and then some of the 22 would come from Dragon Realm, or which one is it? Like are all
of them, like Arcturian, Pleiadian,
okay,
Lyra, Sirius, Feline, Avian. We have all of them.
Okay. So you mean the universe all, not just Earth plane all. Okay, that makes me feel less crazy too, because I talk to people where I say like, you can be a hybrid, you don't have to be just one. And so it also feels like, because I feel like an angel, dragon, starseed hybrid, but God, you're piecing together so much stuff for me. But because it's like, well, just because you learn the ways of a dragon doesn't mean that you somehow like are a hybrid combination. But I'm like, it feels like I'm a hybrid combination. But you're talking about the geneticist thing. I don't think you said that word exactly. You said a slightly different word.
I don't know how to say it ever. I'm like geneticists.
Oh,
like they work with genes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, cool.
I always wonder if I'm saying it right all the time.
If you ever get hung up, I'll say it for you. And hopefully I won't trip on it.
Okay, say it.
Geneticist?
Geneticist?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm always so impressed with people who English is their not their first language, and then they're just like rocking it, and I'm like, good for you.
You know what the problem is? I don't have a first language because I'm really bad in Spanish and I'm really bad in English.
Your first language is probably from somewhere else.
my first language is like up there somewhere, and I'm like, man, you sent me to Earth with no primary language. What are you trying to do to me over here?
For sure. Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah. So that makes so much sense. There's this hybridization. And then what's also very interesting is in a different session, you know how I was saying there was the client who I didn't know that well. I do now. And she's the one who got all the Washington information. In a different session with a different SEH student, she was talking about how a lot of people within SEH, they really understand portals. And a lot of the different students, some of them really understand the dragon portal, the fairy portal, the angel portal. And she was like, and Courtney's gone through all of them, which is why she's so easily able to piece together all of these things. And I'm sitting there watching this, I'm like, oh, that's like the best, like most out there compliment ever, right? And so it makes sense too, as far as like being exposed to all of these different things, and you mentioning that these things are meant to ultimately come together. So of course there are going to be some of us that are like, what happens if I poke my head into this portal? Like, yeah, and spend some time and then take in that energy and those learnings. But yeah, just to finish up about the dragons and the angels, what's funny is, you know, if you work with enough clients and the universe wants you to know something, like they'll keep bringing that information to you, which is how I even found out about the angels and dragons being really good friends. And so there's one exception in my experience. There was one dragon soul, and because the angels and dragons like each other so much, I was like, hey, do you want to meet any of your angel friends? And that dragon soul was like, no, thank you. And I was like, oh, okay. And then she goes, I find the angels to be rather boring.
Ooh.
So there has been one exception.
Angel hater.
Oh, like, okay. I know they're not as fiery. I get it. So
what I supposedly learned from like the information of the universe that I've been going through, we like, obviously we like, what's the word called? We make things, I can't think of the word. Like when you make, we think about something, we make it all beautiful and bloomy and like
flowery.
What's the word?
Romanticize?
Romanticize. That's the word. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
You romanticize. This is Lorena's job, what you just did.
What's funny is I know that you and I are more alike, so I'm so happy that I'm helping out with the Lorena stuff. Well, Lorena. Flower essence, so I love that I said flowery first.
Yeah, you're right. But so yeah, we romanticize things, and if you ask someone on Earth, like, what is an angel and archangel, they're like, oh yeah, they're they assist humanity, help humanity. If you ask the universal information that I've received, what an angel or an archangel is, they're actually considered commander in chief. Yeah. There's a warrior. So it means that they had to like really train to be warriors, which also makes sense why some of them are shown with swords, because they're going to be nice to you and they're going to love you and assist you. But if you come to them, they'll cut you, man.
Yeah.
Like they ain't going to take crap, because people think angels are always going to be so la. No. An angel can save your life, or an angel can take it.
Yeah. And also an angel can save your life because they come into their power. So they know that they can do something like that. That's a really strong ability to be able to not only do it, but believe that you can do it.
Yeah. And I feel that like about myself a lot. I've always felt very connected to that energy. I'm always like, I remember, like, I'll say that to Sandra sometimes. I'll be like, I love as hard as I fight, and I fight as hard as I love. Like,
yeah. Lucia is the teammate to have.
Yeah. And I realized my connection with one of your hypnosis sessions that I had. Like the ones that you did with like the membership thing. Yeah, I did one the first ones I did, I ended up finding like my soul was somewhere hanging out in her like little section of the universe. I was like, can I just stay here forever and not go back, please? It was the perfect place. And then all of a sudden an archangel shows up and starts talking to me about my lineage and where I originally come from. And I'm like fourth descendant of blah, blah, blah. And in the beginning, I was like, what are they talking about? And then when I started studying universal information, it came together. And then I realized I would have never before put myself in the category of an angel, because I thought that were always peaceful and nice. But then when I learned more about them, I'm like, I get it. I totally get it now. I can like be really nice, but if you mess with me, I can also fight back.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm so glad that you're bringing that up, because there is that idea. But again, if you are strong and powerful and you have to come up, or you don't have to, but life is life, right? And we all come up against those more challenging things. And it's not like you're going to then just turn off your strength and your power. You're going to utilize it for whatever is needed in that situation. And sometimes the sword.
Yeah. And I think that humanity has a lot of scenarios where people need to learn to stand up for themselves. And not just like say, okay, fine, whatever. No, sometimes like no one's going to put you first if you don't put yourself first.
Yeah. Have you ever had a quiet, meek phase in your life, or no, you were firecracker the whole time?
I'm a person where like I'm really out there, but then I'll spend like half a day buried in a book and I'm like super quiet.
I don't mean it like that. Let me do it again. Have you ever had a period where you let people walk all over you because you were trying to be nice?
No, I was born this way. My poor mom.
I love it. I'm so glad that you didn't have to deal with that. Let me give some advice to those who have done that, because I was born like this, right? Where I'm very like, hello world. Let me go ahead and like shake some of this up, right? But then, and they talk about this for those of us who have been told that we're bad for being fiery. There's this period where you get really, really quiet. Like really quiet, because you're told over and over again how bad you are. And I was so introverted that in this workplace environment that I had, my 9-to-5 job, like if I heard somebody there, it was a 2 or 3 story building. So there was an elevator. And if I heard somebody coming, I would be desperately pressing the door close button in the elevator. Because I genuinely did not know how to interact with people, because I'd been told that I was bad. Yes. And I was just like, I just like don't want to talk. I don't really know how to do this. But then I start to learn about spirituality, and there's a bumpy phase for people who are like this, where you're like, well, I want to be kind in the world, but I don't really know how, and I don't really know how to engage. And so then a lot of people go into a doormat phase, where they want to engage with the world and be of service to the world, but they still kind of think they're bad, and then allow people to like take advantage and just like tell them what to do. Meanwhile, you are this fiery person that's really strong and powerful, and it's just this weird energy to try to, where like you're trying to be good because society tells you this is how a good girl behaves, but on the inside you're like, but I still know that I need to burn some shit down, right? I still know that this person's behavior is not good, but then you're like, maybe I'm supposed to be learning patience or compassion, or you justify it because you're like, no, I'm responsible for learning what this terrible person is bringing to this situation. And then eventually you just have to realize, like, no, like you were born fiery, you are good, use all of that positive energy for good. And yeah, so for those of you who are listening, who've gone through that phase, like you're not alone. Just step into your power, know that you can speak. And if you care about hurting people, that means that you have a loving heart. So just keep practicing. So yeah, stand up for yourself.
Yeah, good advice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's part of like, that's interesting, because that leads me to part of the notes that I wrote down, which is speaking about how these beings are in 12th density, or they're in 13th density, and that's where like your higher self, I guess you would say, is, right? Like your soul, your higher self, and that we are incarnations or fractals of that being that are having this experience down here in this really low density. So we have ego here. So then that quiet version of yourself, you just weren't properly channeling that version of your higher self. It was kind of like whatever's going on earth and ego wise was kind of getting in the way. But that's the whole plan of like the new earth that we're going into. We're supposed to start releasing the ego and letting go of it, and start reflecting more directly the actual genuine personality of the version of your higher self or your soul.
Yeah. And it's so important. Again, like I was saying earlier, it's so nice that we both speak very openly, and we allow ourselves to be ourselves, which means we can fill in the puzzle pieces for each other. And so what happens with a lot of people is they don't speak their truth because they're afraid that society is going to reject them. And it's like, no, you're going to get rejected by the people that aren't meant for you anyway. That's really good news. And you're going to be seen by the people that are meant for you. So yeah.
That reminds me of something you said, I think it was in an interview we had, where we talked about the tribal thing of like not wanting to be kicked out of the tribe. I always remembered that you said that.
Yeah, it's really a lot of people's behavior goes directly back to, I want to survive. Please don't ostracize me. If you kick me out of this friend group, I'm going to die. Which is like, what was true back in the day. If you get kicked out by your tribe, your chances of survival are very, very slim. If you continue to be within the tribe, your chances of survival are very high. And I think that's where a lot of behavior comes from, where we're just trying to not die.
It's crazy because I never thought about it like that till you said that. I'm like, wow, yeah, it's just kind of like the sense of survival that kicks in, and I'm going to do what I have to do to feel safe. Right?
Yeah. People's behavior in 2020, man, that taught me so much. It's because you have to reflect on it. You're like, what's going on here? Yeah, a lot of good lessons.
No, like that was a lot of humanity's insecurities coming out. It's probably, maybe you can box it into karma if you want, maybe make it a bigger box and say karma on things. But I think ultimately there's only one way for us to begin the new like earth here, or begin the new structure, and it's realizing that the structure we have doesn't suit us, so we have to want to get rid of it. And the only way for a lot of people to finally see it, not want to be part of that anymore, is realize it's not working for your benefit.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. To a pretty extreme degree too. It's really, yeah, it's emboldened a lot of people. Like you were saying, if you are forced to address something because it's so uncomfortable, it really inspires change. And then I love also that you and I and people like us, we have really nicely started to figure out how to live outside of the majority, not entirely, but the majority of these systems where we're able to be self-employed, right? We're able to make a nice living, helping people follow their dreams and connect to the spirit realm. That's incredible. That's really incredible.
Sandra would say, it's thanks to me. I said, the universe helped me through you, but it's still helping me.
You're totally right also. And trust me, Charles, same thing. But for me, and I don't, listen, I'm not recommending this to other people, but for me, I was definitely playing it smaller. And I'm not saying this applies to you or anybody who's listening, but for me specifically, I was definitely playing it smaller because I had this safety net of a very grounded Capricorn. They're very known for being like very steady, very professionally oriented and successful in their career. So I had this super stable safety net, which allowed me to like play around, right? And not take things so seriously when it came to my career. But my career is the entire reason that I'm here. I'm here to help people with hypnosis. Like that's why I incarnated. So it's like, is this really a thing I'm supposed to be playing around with or taking seriously? And so when we made the friendship official and he, we've gone our separate ways. We're still good friends. Like I really mean it when I say that. We're still really good friends. That forced me into a position where I was like, okay, you gonna take this seriously or not? And so you can tell, like, if you've been like watching the evolution of all the things that I've been doing, you can tell that I've really pressed on the gas in like the last half year or so, where this is stuff I was always meant to do. But now that I don't have that safety net, I'm just like, okay, I do it now.
I have no other option but to do it.
Yeah, I have no other option. But then also let's add this to it as well. When you are busy trying to fix a marriage that's really a friendship, that takes so much energy that it's also really hard to focus on something like your business when you're just trying, like, most of your brain is occupied with trying to fix this thing that actually isn't really meant to be fixed.
And the time you want to enjoy and kind of like live life, you're just trying to make that more comfortable or nicer or neater.
Yeah, you're trying to fit yourself into a box that was never the right size for you. So, and then what's interesting too is I was getting hives almost every day toward the end of that.
Oh, you're like Lorena. Yeah.
Oh, does she get hives?
Yeah, she gets hives when she like has like a freak out or something like that.
She should definitely check in on what that's about. As soon as I went my own way, guess who doesn't get hives anymore? And I had been getting them almost every day for about, I think I'm saying the right number, about 2.5 years. It's a long time to get hives. And then I go my own way and my body's like, thank you. That was way too much stress. And now like there is this, I really get to be myself and my body is very like, we've been waiting.
I'm so proud of you. Like I'm really proud of you. That's amazing.
That means a lot coming from you because I think you're so cool. And I'm like, you're proud of me? Oh my God.
I'm just a rebel in a girl suit.
That's very cool, I think.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, let's get back to the dragons because there's a few things I want to like. Yeah, we get all over the place. The really interesting thing about the dragons is they're geneticists. Geneticists.
Well, remember genetics. You know what? You say it how you want. Everybody knows what you mean. If you hit the the sound, they're gonna be like, we know what she means.
These dudes that work with genes. Okay, that.
Yeah.
They're like the original ones, but then also like really main leaders of the whole movement are the feline beings, which I find fascinating.
Is this,
Have you
is
ever
this the Lyrans? Is that how you say it?
Yeah, it could be like those lion beings that like they have like human bodies, but like lion heads. So those are felines. But I've seen and I've read somebody's Akashic records before. Well, more than one actually, quite a few, where like one of the readings specifically, I remember being taken to a planet where I saw a group of them.
Yeah.
And they were standing on 2 feet, and it looked like almost like my house cat, but just like way more glamorous and beautiful. Like it's just like it would be like, can I touch your beautiful hair? Oh my God. But they were like looking like they respect you. There was a feeling of respect, but there was a feeling of don't overstep because you ain't gonna win this one. Like they were like very firm.
Yeah.
And then I learned that there's this whole race of them that work with genes, and then there's another version of them that are actually considered warriors. So they're the ones that help protect Earth currently against invaders. They've signed themselves up to help us. So I was like, oh, well, they have some of that warrior stuff, but they work with genes. And also those bird-like beings, which maybe you could associate to Ra. Like when you think of Ra, do you think of like the bird?
Yeah.
So those are also beings that work with genes, and they've worked with the human body before as well.
I
Like
have
our human body.
so many questions.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So I mean, come on, like our cats,
Oh my God, I
domesticated
love
and
them.
wild cats must
Yeah.
be connected to them. For 100 reasons. One, the look, but then also we all know that the cats are regal. We just know it, right? So there's that energy as well. Plus how magical are cats. That's the other thing. After the timeline shift where I'm like, I think we're going into a fairy phase. I have Zoom meetings with Michelle, the one I had dinner with, all the time because we're working on projects together. After the timeline shift, her cat started to crawl on her laptop during a meeting with me. I didn't even know she had a cat. But then I timeline shift, and then all of a sudden the cat, and I mean, like, there is nothing visible on the screen except for this cat's fur. This is like how much, and I was like, thank you. Like for me, if a cat gives you a compliment like that, that is like, it's like a compliment from Lucia, where you're like, oh my God, like this is like such a great compliment. Like I'm definitely on the right track. So there's something about cats, and we all know it.
They're godlike. They bring down the energy of their true essence, and it's like, I'll love you when I want to love you, and I will go away when I don't want you to be around me anymore.
Yeah. And there's this like this godlike energy that's also very celestial, right? It definitely feels like it's from somewhere else. Like it's not that close to here, and that they're really gracing us.
Yeah, supposedly those feline beings we were talking about created a mini version of themselves to assist humanity. That was their way of further assisting or helping us. So they were put here to help us.
They're nailing it. Do you know, I feel like I've probably talked about this before. It's very, very rare. But when I was still in Virginia and football the cats, and I lived in the same house, do you know that she actually came down and talked to a few clients?
Yes, I remember the story. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
and I love one of my favorite parts about this is that she was so elitist. Like she would only wait until they were channeling their soul, and then she would come down and talk to them. And it's hilarious because this is not a cat. I mean, I've worked with, I can't even imagine how many clients have had sessions in that place. And she only came down for like 6, 7, or 8 of the sessions. So it was very, very rare. And she would she's a super talkative cat. And she would talk to only their souls, not just like the regular person or a spirit guide, only their souls directly. And I watched her have an argument with one of them one time. And I didn't know they were having an argument, but like he told me later, he was like, yeah, like she was fighting, like having a debate with my soul because his soul was going to take him into a place that she deemed unsafe. So she called him downstairs and she was like, don't do it. Not safe. And he was like, he'll be fine. And then she was like, listen, I really don't recommend this. And so they went back and forth. I wouldn't have thought of it as an argument, except for she didn't talk for about 3 days. And this is a very talkative cat. And I'm like, wow, that one wiped her out.
What it took it out of her. She was exhausted.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's also very interesting when we're connecting the cats and all of this good work in the world and being, helping us like basically helping us like get our shit together, go in the right direction, do all of these good things. That's really fascinating that there is that geneticist component for multiple of the races. It really feels like so many teammates are like rooting for us. They're like, you guys can do it, keep going.
Well, because we are a lot of us, not all of us, but like a lot of us we're like direct sent. Maybe some of us came from those feline beings and were incarnated here. They said they'll send some of their people because they're all actually part of the plan.
Yeah.
Like, they're all part of this ascension process of Earth. Earth is supposedly the universal DNA library. So the whole of the universe, Earth has to literally contain every single DNA that exists in the universe. That's why we have so many creatures in the ocean and so many that we actually haven't even seen yet, probably.
Oh, for sure.
This is where it's stored. So it's not only that they're just like going, yay, humanity. It's because all this DNA has to stay here and stay protected, because anytime that they need that DNA, they can come get it here. It will always be here.
Is there a reason that they selected, like of all the places that could have been chosen, why they selected Earth?
I don't know the response to that. There might be a response to that. Right now I don't know that response. I just know that it's considered like the headquarters of our creator for all the DNA, like to stash.
I'm gonna tell a really quick story, and if you get a response during the quick story, okay, I will be happy to hear it. Okay, so quick story, because I can feel that some people are really concerned about the outcome of the planet. So remember, there are lots of timelines, right? Mm-hmm. And I feel like when some of us are feeling so positively good in a certain direction, and then another person's feeling so like, oh shit, like, I don't know about this might go bad in that direction, they're all possible, right? And so maybe you're meant to be of service in the bad direction. Like it's not necessarily wrong or bad to go in that direction. Maybe you're supposed to be there. But if you're like me and I'm like, I think I've done my time, I think I'd rather go in the good direction and be of service in the good direction. I want to mention to people that I had a session with a really amazing gentleman. Like every now and then I'll have a client where I will in earnest say to them, I'm like, why are you having a session? Like, you're so advanced and so connected. Like, you really don't need you don't really need a teammate like me, right? Like, you could just do this. And some of them will say, I know. And I know that I'm supposed to be having this session to help you, Courtney, and teach you, Courtney. And I'm like, sweet, let's go. And so this is one of the clients, and this was actually his second session that I'm referring to. And so he tapped into what has been like draining the energy from Earth. And he's so smart. He didn't just go drainage thing, like, you're bad, get out of here. He was like, this served a purpose. I'm grateful to you, drainage thing. I cannot remember what it was called, but this like thing sucking all of this energy, right? I'm grateful to you. I understand that this served a purpose. You can go ahead and let go. And then the drainage thing was just like, thank you for thanking me. I will go ahead and release now. And I was like, did I just watch the world change? This is over, when was this? This is either really late July or really early August of 2022, if anybody wants to piece that together. And so it disconnects. And then I'm like, okay, now that that's done, do you want to see what the Earth is like in the future? Because he's a sustainable farmer. Like, this is the most interesting guy. Like, he really cares about the planet. And so I was like, do you want to see what it's like in the future? And so he goes into about 6,000 years from now, and it's amazing. Like, the planet, I'm getting goosebumps. Like, the planet is so happy, so healthy. Some people have learned to live underground, not in a bad way, not in a like, we can't survive on the surface. It's actually out of respect for the surface of the Earth. Because, pave paradise, and put up a parking lot. Instead, what they're doing is they're living underground so the Earth's surface can be remain intact, and then they come above ground to have a nice time, but like, they're not upsetting the surface layer of the Earth. Or they go like pure into like tower mode. So if they're gonna upset, like, or not upset, but cover a surface, like, it's very minimal square footage. And so he tunes into that. All of the children are really, really psychic. And they have him, like, he comes and he visits, and he's visiting basically this classroom of like 12 or 13-year-olds. And they're like, wait, you're from that time? Like you're from the 21st century. And he's like, yeah. And because they're so telepathic, some of them actually start crying where they're like,
Oh,
heard about this, but now we can actually feel into what the conditions were like. And they're like, it's so much worse than we were taught. Like being able to feel into like what it was like
wow.
here during this time. And like, this is actually like really
That makes
hard.
me want to cry hearing that. My
I
God.
know. It was, and he was like, but it's okay now. And like, you know, I'm feeling what you guys are like now. And like, it's going to be okay. And see, like, look at you guys, you're like, it's okay. And so then they went on this big adventure and I just got to watch him go on this big adventure, like, cause they can teleport. And so they went to another part of the country, not country, planet. And they took him to one of their favorite teachers. So it was just like this really interesting thing. Just a few days later, there is a kid, when I say kid, like 21-year-old,
Kid to us.
right? Yeah, who has a session. And I'm watching this kid have the session and I'm like, I really think this kid eventually incarnates to be one of those adolescents
Oh,
6,000 years from now.
wow.
And I actually connected the two of them because they both live near each other in Maryland. I was like, I think you two need to meet each other. So yeah. And like I've had a few clients where I'm like, I really want to introduce them. Those two, I finally actually did it. I was like, I really think you two need to meet each
This
other.
reminds me of the Brian Weiss book with Catherine and
Yeah. Or Only Love Is Real, where he has the two clients where they're tapping into each other in his past lives. Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
exactly.
and he realizes that they were that was it. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I love that story so much. Yeah, if
Yeah,
you
me
guys
too.
have not read Only Love Is Real, read it.
Yes. Oh my God. I think that was, I don't know if that was the first book I read, but that was I think that's for a lot of people, my like more wake up call, like my wake up call to like, because I had the dream premonition scenario and this was like, no, this is actually, I'm not insane. This is actually like all really real.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's so interesting. Most people start with Million Lives, Many Masters. I love that you started with Only Love Is Real.
I don't remember. I think so, because I remember that story being the first one I heard. Yeah. She had like the sword thing in her back, right?
I don't remember. I don't know.
I remember there's a soldier and a sword, and then I remember like a horse thing where like they're being dragged. Maybe I remember thinking about another book, but I think it's that one.
It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we
matter.
recommended a really good book.
No, totally good book. But yeah, that's super interesting. Wow. Can I add to that? So definitely I say that I do see, not only do I see there a lot of humanity deciding to go underground, there already is, our race is underground. It's called Inner Earth, right? We have all these the cities, and when we're ready to accept other races, then they'll be able to come out and like start sharing with us. That's what I envision, and I imagine is going to happen. And then the other thing is floating cities. So we're not going to build on top of Earth's surface. We're going to eventually be able to have floating cities where we don't damage the trees and stuff.
Oh, that feels so good.
This is amazing. Yeah. I would love to be here for that. Yes.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
And then we can create more surface area, I would think. Kind of like their rooftop gardens. You imagine like having flotations, but then also like it's like
floating gardens.
Here too, yeah.
Floating farms and stuff, right? Yeah. And at that point, if we have that technology, we'll probably have a lot of people going to visit. Oh, I'm going to go to Mars for the weekend.
Right?
Like, where are you going on vacation this year? Oh, I'm heading to Jupiter. Oh, I was there last year. It's amazing.
Right? Make sure you go and see this part of
Do not miss the moon of Jupiter. It's amazing.
Oh, well, yeah, that's a really nice invitation too, where everything that we're talking about, I feel, is even more possible and plausible when we tap into these friends that we have, right? So we're connected to the star seeds. We're connected to the fairies. We're connected to the angels and the dragons. Like, I really think that we need to pay more attention to that. Like, if we need help with our taxes, we see an accountant, right? If we need help with exercise, we connect with a trainer. Like, we know that we have these teammates on the earth plane, but there are these other teammates where it's like, well, if you need help with something, right? If you want to tap into this new earth, if you want to go to a floating, if you know what I mean? Like, if you want to be part of this new build of all this great thing that's happening, like, start to actually really believe in and value that we have these connections with these other types of beings, and talk to them more and let them help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, I'm all for that. I'm all for that. And I do think that that's going to happen in our timeline. Like while I'm going to fix the words, in our lifetime.
I think it's happening now. Yeah. I really hope that lady finds her ring.
I was thinking about when you said that she lost her ring and you told her to ask the fairies or the angels and she chose the fairies. That reminds me that aren't the gnomes the one that are known for hiding things? So she's got an elemental problem that should be fixed with another elemental.
Okay, I will definitely mention that. The reason that I even thought to say the fairies, because again, the angels are so palatable. I had always heard it as ask the angels for help, which I still think that they're amazing helpers. I was working with somebody and she mentioned that she had been outside at night in her yard. And, sometimes rings just aren't like the right size for a finger. And she didn't even notice, but her engagement ring just like fell off of her finger outside at night. And she realizes that once she's back in the house.
That is gnome land, by the way.
Of course, right?
Yeah.
So she's like frantically looking, not going to find it. Next morning, daylight, frantically looking, doesn't find it. Then she says, because she knows the fairies like shiny things. So she went with the fairies, which is what gave me the idea to say the fairies, because they like shiny things. She was like, listen, guys, I get it. You had fun playing with the ring. It's okay. Could I please have it back? Like, it would mean a lot to me. I'm glad you had a good time, but I'd really like to have it back. She said the next day it was placed on a kitchen chair, just sitting there waiting for her.
Wow.
So not only more goosebumps, not only because you would think like, oh, they would direct your eye to see a sparkle and then you would find it. No, it was actually physically placed in like a place that you don't lose your ring on top of a chair surface. Like, it doesn't happen, right?
No.
At a minimum, you would hear it clink if it had hit that surface. So yeah. So I love that. I love calling in the gnomes. Gnomes are amazing. They've come into a few sessions. They're so serious and like the most delightful way, where they're like, what you need, got it. Okay.
They're super serious, right?
Yeah, they're so serious.
Yeah.
They're like, we don't need to talk about this. You've already told me what you need. Like, let me go do it.
Yeah, they don't waste time. That's the energy I get too. Yeah. Like, just don't talk to me for hours. Just, what is it? Okay, I'll see you later. Okay, done? Our business is done. All right, goodbye.
Yes.
It's a little bit of like the scorpion energy, isn't it?
Oh, I don't know. What's the scorpion?
No, scorpion, like people that are Scorpio.
Oh God. Oh man. Talk about, yeah, they're interesting. I'm a fan. By the way, I'm a fan. It's just that like, because a water sign, right? So Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio, all water signs. I'm a big fan. Like, one of the
Scorpio's water.
I know. It's supposed to be, it's one of those things where like, twist, Aquarius is not a water sign. Twist, the Scorpio from the desert is a water sign. I didn't make it up. I'm just reporting the truth. Like, it's just the way that it is.
So wait, I'm gonna tell you something really funny. My daughter is Pisces.
Mm-hmm.
So the two fish, right? She's obsessed with water. She loves water. She was like me when I grew up, where I'm really bad at school. I now understand why I'm bad at school, because I can't with the system anyways, but she's really good at swimming. That's the only thing that she's the best in the class at. Right. But I'm like, okay, it's also because she's Pisces, whatever.
Yeah.
There was a moment in time where I was a dolphin trainer.
That's right. Of course. And a pilot.
And that's where I met. Yes. And a pilot. And then there's a moment in time where the person that I got together, I married, was working there. And he had also for 3 to 4 years been a dolphin trainer. So 2 dolphin trainers basically came together and had a Pisces child.
Of course. If it's not too personal, what is her birth date?
The 21st of February.
Okay. The reason I ask is, for some reason I know multiple people who are March 18th. And that's Pisces. Yeah. So, okay. Yeah. So this is fun. So when I mentioned, because just Scorpios are really intense and mysterious. And as a Cancer, I'm such an open book, and I'm like, tell me more of your secrets. You know what I mean? It's like this like riddle that I want to solve, knowing a Scorpio. But I've noticed that, okay, so me getting back to Hawaii over and over and over again, the way that it happened, and it took me years to figure this out, because a lot of people don't know each other's birthdays, right? But over the years, I finally figured out that the 4 people here in Hawaii that would always invite me to come and watch their, it was mainly dogs. One person had cats. All 4 of them are Pisces. 2 of them actually have the same birthday, March 18th, but all 4 of them are Pisces, ranging between late February to mid.
So what was your conclusion to that? What do you think it is?
The conclusion is they're the ones who get to live right with the water, right? Because as you go, like Pisces, very water, fish, but then you've got the Cancer, the crab. So crab can go in water and land, but then you've got the Scorpio, it's actually absence of water, right?
Yeah.
So all these Pisces keep inviting me to come back home to the water side of things and to make it.
I love this conclusion.
Right? But then what's also fun is I also have Scorpio teammates, and every single Scorpio teammate is the exact same. They are all older gentlemen who give me extraordinarily good business advice. All of them. It's 4 and 4. It's 4 people that are very like, hugs, come here, come stay in Hawaii, right? That's the Pisces. The Scorpios are very like, we see your potential. You need to get your shit together. Here's what you got to do to make sure that this business takes over the world the way that it's meant to.
It's perfect. It's a perfect combination of both things. I love it.
Wow. And so I'm like, thank you, Pisces. And I'm like, thank you.
You basically described my life though, because Aurora's Pisces and Sandra's Scorpio.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
You basically just described my life just in a family setting instead of like outside of, friends that are almost family in a way.
They're really good teammates. They're such good teammates.
Yeah, but like if they're gonna give it to you straight. Also, if the Scorpion is a Dutch person, they'll definitely give it to you straight. Right? They're not gonna beat around the bush.
It's gonna be honest. And then here's the thing though, you want to, I can't speak for every Scorpio ever, only the ones that I've been listening to. They're honest, which is amazing because their advice is good. It's good advice. Like it's not going to be lovey-dovey, but it's going to be good.
No, it's not going to be lovey-dovey. It's true, but it's going to be like their honest opinion, like what they really see. Yeah, I agree with that. It's true. Another thing about Scorpio that's funny is I told this story on the podcast before when I was talking to Christos and Foster, who Foster is a shaman, and we were talking about nature and how nature kind of assists humanity or kind of how it comes into play. And I was talking about how rough it was for me when I had Aurora. I had a C-section. It was a really, really, really bad like birth. I had been like hooked up to anesthesia for way too long. And I was having a lot of issues after. My body was like bloating up. Every ounce of me was itchy. My feet wouldn't stop getting big. And I was vomiting every single day, various times a day. And meanwhile, trying to like nurse my baby that was just born and try to like get the C-section to, cover
That's
up.
a lot.
It was a lot. And I was not feeling good. And I kept going back to the doctor and they kept telling me, we don't know why you're throwing up, but also we can't give you anything because you're breastfeeding. So it was like, every time I went to the doctor, it was like, go home and keep throwing up kind of.
Wow. And
I was feeling really sick. And it was going past like weeks of it. And it was the same story. And my mom was starting to get concerned because she's like, yeah, you're not getting better. And the doctors are giving you no solution. What are you going to do? I was like, I don't know. And one night we were laying on the couch, and this was in Cayman Islands. We were laying on the couch, and I remember my husband was there, and we'd fallen asleep with I had the baby around my arm, and there was like a blanket over me, and it was like we were sleeping, and then I felt something crawl up my back. I went, ah! And I put the baby aside, and I ran. I was like, ah! I thought it was I'm thinking cockroach. I don't know why. I'm thinking cockroach, and then I feel this pain. It's on my spine, and it was around where I had gotten the epidural, and I felt this massive sting. I thought, it's the fucking cockroach bit me. And then when I hit my back and it fell out of my pajama, we saw a black cockroach drop on the floor.
Clothing. Oh my God.
Oh, sorry, not cockroach. We saw a black scorpion drop on the floor, and he had stung me right around where the epidural had been. The next day I woke up, no symptoms at all. The venom fixed everything. And I literally Googled, will I die? I just got stung by a scorpion, will I die? And I'm like, Cayman Islands. And they're like, no, like if it's a big black one and it's Cayman Islands, it was fine. And I was like, okay, I should have called 911, but I Googled it instead.
Love it. Which is probably the better choice, honestly, because you know how when they say if you are a hammer, everything that you see is a nail. And if you had called 911, like they're so used to emergencies that they would probably treat it like an emergency. So I think that was definitely the way to go.
The next day, my feet were no longer bloated. I had no more itching. I stopped throwing up. It was the first day I felt energized. I felt good. And I didn't put two and two together till about a few days later. I said, and I said to my husband, do you realize after that night of what happened, it's just been perfectly fine. I was like, oh my God, like the universe took care of me and sent me a scorpion to sting me, even though I was really pissed and I killed it at the time. Now I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have killed it. He kind of saved me. Oh no, I felt so bad. But I mean, I was reacting.
Scorpion is in a better place now.
Yeah, I'm so sorry, Scorpion. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I'm sure.
So,
Well, I wonder if that Scorpion is reincarnated as another teammate that is also really good for you, right?
I don't know, but it's just it was incredible because you were talking about how like the fairy helping them find the ring again and things like that. It's like sometimes we're assisted even by animals and we're not even aware of it at the time, and then later on we'll go, oh wow.
Right. It also ties into something that I think is really important that I wish more people kept on the front of their brain, which is that there's so many things that look bad on the surface, but if you just pay a little bit of attention, it's actually a really, really good thing that happened for you. And I wish that more people kind of had that going in their brain all the time, where it's like, how is this working out for me? How is this working out for me? And like the good things are very obvious, but the not so good things, there's something very good within that as well, including scorpion stings.
Yeah. So I mean, basically all the drugs that my system had from the birth was making me super sick, and I don't know how long it was going to keep going on, and it was deteriorating me. And then a scorpion walks up my pajama and fixes it for me in about an hour.
Totally neutralized it. That's incredible.
Yeah. So that means that venom is so powerful that it contradicted everything in my system that was making me sick somehow.
It's
Isn't that
beautiful.
insane?
I love it. Yes. Well, it's interesting too, because you know how people talk about plant medicine all of the time, which I think is amazing, but there are also these venoms. So I ended up doing, I don't know if it's pronounced Cambo or combo. I call it combo, but it's Kambo. I ended up doing that in really late September, really early October of 2022 here in Hawaii. There's a combo practitioner, and it's a frog. It's a frog venom.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was a really important experience because it allowed me to live a lesson that the universe had been trying to get through to me for a while, and made it finally like real. And so it's this beautiful story of the universe several months later, probably about half a year later, told me in a hypnosis session, they were like, Courtney, you have mastered doing the hard thing. Like anytime we ask you to do something, like you always take action, but you always treat it like it's a hard thing. And we're proud of you for doing it, even when you think it's hard, and pulling it off, even though it was really hard for you. And they said, but we want you to graduate from that phase and start taking our advice and taking action on it, but let it be easy. Like do the hard thing in an easy way. Like you really need to start doing that. And so fast forward, and that's that, no pun intended, but that's easier said than done, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you've got this groove in your head where you're like, it's hard, and you believe it, and then you make it hard and it feels hard, right? And so then fast forward to this combo experience, and again, it's venom. So it's not, I mean, you're basically saying like, could you please put some poison in my body and let's just see how it goes.
Oh God.
Right? So, but because I'm so like, again, barely tethered to the earth, I'm all like, la, 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 my friend recommended this. I'm just going to go ahead and do it. And then she connects me to the combo practitioner, and the practitioner I'm like, how much does it cost? And she's like, well, it's this much for one session, but if you do a pack of 3, it's this much. And I was like, let's do 3. Because
what do people usually go to do with that? Like, what does it give them?
It's basically supposed to be purification. So purification in a variety of ways.
Detox.
Yes, exactly. So it could be a physical detox, it could be a mental, it could be an emotional, it could be a spiritual, but like it's basically helping you to release all of those things that you've been meaning to release, that you've needed to release.
Oh, it sounds amazing. Yeah.
Exactly, right? That's all I needed to know. As soon as I heard that, I was like, yes, right. I did zero research. And I was like,
how many people have died from?
Yeah, there was no Googling. There was no pre-911 call. There was none of it. I was just like, I'm in, let's do it. Plus my friend had already done. I'm a very word of mouth person. Like I tend to not, like, I don't really believe marketing, but if I get word of mouth and somebody says, I've actually tried this thing with this person and had an experience, then I'm like, I'm in, right? So that's exactly what happened. And so my friend gives me the contact information of the practitioner. Practitioner says 1 session or 3. I'm a very extreme personality. And I'm like, 3, of course. And then I was like, when do we get started? And like, and how much space in between? And let's go ahead and schedule it. And she was like, oh, and if she mistook my enthusiasm for anxiety. She was like,
oh, she doesn't know you.
exactly. Right. And plus, she also knows all of her other clients who have actually Googled this and know the mania that they're about to enter into. But I'm oblivious. I'm just excited. And so she was like, no need to be anxious about it. And I was like, not anxious, enthusiastic. Just give me the dates. so like she's giving me, it's the first round. And by the way, I have already decided, and I'm going to get back to the hard thing versus the easy thing. I've already decided, because I know you're supposed to do it for 20 minutes, and my favorite number is 22. And because my friend has told me, she said she couldn't do it for the 20 minutes. She had to bail at minute 8 or something like that. Now, I have not released my ego entirely. And so I'm like, I'm going to be cool. And I'm definitely going to do the 20 minutes. And I'm actually going to be like, let's stack 2 more minutes on it, because 22 is my favorite number. And I never wear sunglasses, but I'm just imagining myself in like shades and just
So
being
wait,
like,
what does that mean for 22 minutes? Like it's being put into your system for 22 minutes?
that you have the poison in you for 22 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Because it's a surface level poison. What they do is they burn.
Oh,
Yeah, this is going to sound really painful, but somehow it's not. But they burn like that very top layer of your skin, the epidermis. They burn that top layer off, and then they put the toxin into your system by
and
way
it
of
didn't leave any mark or anything.
It does. I've got some really
wow.
cool dots.
So
on my
you can
shoulder.
spot these people at the beach. Oh, I see what you did.
Can, yeah. And it's funny too, because if somebody sees you and they're like, oh, and like you can pick different body parts. And so I had a client where I talked to her about it, and she was like, and then she goes like this, and then you see on her wrist that she has some dots. And I was like, hey,
I know you.
right? It's a fun marker. And so, yeah, so my friend said that she could only do about 8 minutes, and I'm like, I'm gonna be really cool and do 20 minutes. And then because you can take it off, just like you apply it topically, you can then take it off topically. And then that circle, that dot heals up, and then you've got a little bit of a scar, which is pretty cool, I think. It's like a tattoo in a way. So this practitioner is walking me through, and she's telling me about like what might happen during this experience. And she's like, if you need to go to the bathroom, I just really need you to crawl, not walk. I know. And I'm sitting here and I'm listening to it. And this is like really my first introduction to what it might be like. And the whole time my team is like, let it be easy. Like they're just talking to me. They're like, let it be easy. I'm like, okay. And but I'm playing it cool, right? Because I've been really cool. And I'm like, no, I can't be a big wiener. Like, this is the moment. Like, don't be a wiener in front of people. Because my friend was also there. So it wasn't just the practitioner. It was also
I was going to ask you, did you have someone there to like drive you in case like, you know?
Oh, no. She didn't. She was just there to be there. Like we took separate cars.
Oh, okay.
So, but I'm like, okay, you have to play it cool. And the whole time my team was like, just let it be easy. Just let it be easy. While this practitioner is saying like, basically you could shit yourself, you could vomit, you could do a combination, because you know sometimes it's going to go out both ends of the same thing, because
like
you've got
projectile both sides.
yes, because you have this
no.
poison in your body and you're trying to release. And so people do a variety of things. They pass out. That's why you have to crawl rather than walk to the bathroom, because if you're going to pass out, you might as well do it from the floor rather than like standing up.
Oh my gosh.
I know, she's telling me all this. I'm just like, okay. And I'm like, when do we get started? Meanwhile, I'm like, oh, fuck.
I should have Googled this.
Or maybe I shouldn't have. Maybe I shouldn't have.
You would have done it.
Beauty. Yeah, there is a beauty in not knowing, and then like suddenly very acutely being told. And then my team, luckily because of all the hypnosis, my team is just like with me all the time. We're talking all the time. They were like, just let it be easy, let it be easy. And also there's this belief that I really, really believe now, just because other people think something is hard, and even objectively, it can be hard, doesn't mean it has to be hard for you.
I agree.
Like, it just doesn't mean it, right? And so they're telling me all this stuff, and I'm like, I got you. Okay, great, thanks. So then she puts in, that's the other thing. She says to me, and we're going to ask your team how many dots. And my team immediately says 3. And then, but like, she hasn't even given me the range. Yeah, I don't even know what the options are, but I hear 3 immediately. And then a few minutes later, she's like, okay, time to ask your team, should it be 1 or 2? Oh, I'm like, they already gave me 3. And so then I said, does it have to be 1 or 2? And she said, it could be 3, but I always recommend to people to start with 1 or 2. And I was like, well,
They said 3.
I already know it's supposed to be 3. They told me as soon as you said, she was like, okay, like, we'll do it. So she puts the 3 in, and like, I can't even describe this, Lucia. I don't know how to describe the level of discomfort. Like, it is.
Like, you mean like discomfort, sick?
Yeah, sick is a word that people would understand. Pain is a word that people would understand. I don't know how to describe it. I didn't necessarily feel sick. I didn't necessarily feel pain. I felt such discomfort. And there's also like a disquiet, like extreme. I felt like an extreme discomfort. And but
it was in the body though. It wasn't like outside of the body. Was it spiritual?
It's in the body, but it's also mental, because the whole time you're like, why have I made this decision?
Like doubting yourself.
Yeah, or yeah, and it's like, why would I do this? And it just becomes like, it gets more intense and more intense.
Oh, no, that sounds really bad.
Yeah, but it's great. I did number 2 and 3. I'll get to that in just a second. So and she tells you, she's like, what's going to happen at first is you're going to feel your heart rate start to pick up. You're going to start to sweat. Then like, there's a good chance that you're going to have to like go to the bathroom or vomit. Oh, by the way, you have a bucket, like you get your very own bucket next to you. Just in case you don't want to go to the toilet, you just want to do it right there. And she also reads people's vomit. So like, yeah, I know, right?
That's a job I could not do because I'll vomit on top of their vomit.
Right? Yeah. So like the stuff this woman is used to, I tell you, she probably will be the best mom ever, because she's like, I can handle all of it. So like, we remember, I'm aiming for 20 minutes. I think I'm going to be so cool. Meanwhile, I'm like, this is like horrible. I have said nothing because I'm like, at least don't bitch, right? Like at least you can control like not bitching, right? So then I finally crack. I'm like, this is so uncool in my head, but I'm like, I'm going to have to say it. And so I say to her, I'm like, how many minutes has it been? And she said,
what was it? 2 minutes.
She said 8. And the only thing I said back is I just went, Jesus. Yeah. And I'm like, 8 minutes. Oh my God. So apparently.
And how much did your friend do? Did she say she did 10?
Around the same. Well, she's done it multiple times. I don't remember all of her totals, but I think the first time that it was around 8, and then she was like, I can't do this anymore. But again, because of my ego, I'm like, nope, we're just going to deal with this. But remember, the universe has been saying, let the hard thing be easy. So what happens, and I don't even know that it happens, what happens is almost immediately after I asked that question, I passed out. And apparently nobody knows that they pass out. And so I didn't know that it happened. Like the next thing,
falling asleep, like you fell asleep, you didn't know you fell asleep kind of thing.
Exactly. Like the same thing too with falling asleep. You know how like when you're falling asleep, you start to get like sort of weird visions sometimes. Mm-hmm. So I remember that phase starting to settle in. And then the next thing I know is I can feel her, and I've had my eyes closed the whole time. So I still have my eyes closed. And I can feel the practitioner cupping my face, which I don't know is out of the ordinary, right? But like what's happened is I've passed out, and like she's helping me like stabilize me, right? Mm-hmm. And so I don't know what's happened, but then I also know that my body is starting to feel better. And in my head, I'm like, I knew I was going to rock this because I'm already feeling better, and I'm going to make the whole 20 minutes, right? Like this is what is happening in my head. And so then I say to her, I was like, is it common? I'm like, is it common for people to start to feel better at a certain point? And she goes, oh, you passed out and I had to take the venom out of you.
I was about to ask you, since you passed out, like what happens? Because you're not there to go I'm done.
Yeah. So again, it's topical, and which is, whether it had been 20 minutes or 22 minutes or the 9 minutes that I made it, like it's topical. So she removes it, but I have no clue that has even happened. Right. And it's 3 dots. So I definitely have been out for a little while for like the pass out, the removal of the 3, the cupping of the face. Right. And so then I realized that my team.
Can I ask you a personal question?
Did I shit myself?
No. Yes. Anybody who listens to the podcast knows that I love talking about poop. So I had to ask.
No, I was totally about to get to it too. I know, right? But like everybody's wondering. No, well, see, that's the thing. I didn't have to go the 20 minutes. I also didn't vomit. I also didn't have to go the other version of going to the bathroom. I didn't have to do any of that. They had me pick 3 dots, which is the more extreme version. And then I was able to pass out from it. instead of, if I had done 1 or 2, it may have been a low enough version that I would have had to do all of those other things and I wouldn't have passed out instead. So they let me do the easy thing because they knew that I wouldn't give up. Like they knew I would force myself to do the 20 minutes. So they let the hard thing be easy. Now I still was like, I'm going to do number 2 and number 3. Let's see what happens. Like round 2 and round 3 of this frog medicine. So the next time during visit number 2, my team is like, okay, you let the hard thing be easy. Now what we want you to do is let the easy thing be easy. Start to believe that this is easy. And I was like, okay, all right, I'll play this game. Let's do it.
And how many did you do?
3 again.
Whoa.
Of course. I mean, you know, again, I really, listen, at the end of the day, I do think I'm cool. So I'm like, you gotta be cool. Like, you can't just think you're cool. You have to actually be cool. Like, you can do it. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to do 3 again.
I think trying to convince yourself to be cool probably makes you not cool. But anyways.
I don't care. Well, what's funny is then circle it back to knowing that that's uncool and not caring. And I'm like, we're back to
yeah. Okay. You're back to cool again.
So I'm like, okay, be cool, be cool. And so doing the 3, and the whole time they're just jamming back and forth with me, and they're like, let the easy thing be easy. You got to believe that it's easy. Let the easy thing be easy. And I was like, I believe you. I believe you. I'll let the easy thing be easy. The only reaction, I did the whole 20 minutes. I mean, it was uncomfortable, not as extreme as the first time. It was uncomfortable. But the only
what do you think the second time wasn't as uncomfortable? Your body's kind of getting used to it, or?
That could be part of it. I think it's also the shift in, if you believe that you're making the hard thing easy, there's still a part of you that is saying that it's hard, right? And so the hard thing being easy, passing out would be a perfect response. But if you're letting the easy thing be easy, then like you don't even need to pass out. So
you think it's a mindset?
Yeah, exactly. And so I went the whole 20 minutes. It was uncomfortable, not as uncomfortable. And I did sweat a lot. Like there was a lot of sweating. So that was actually my version of releasing. And I did sweat a lot the first time too. So rather than vomiting or shitting, sweating was my way of releasing.
Like how much sweat are we talking? Like, is it like sauna sweating kind of? Yeah. Wow.
You're wet. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Okay. No, it's not a glisten. It's a drip.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So like you're sweating. And so, so the second version was a heavy sweat, no passing out, full 20 minutes, really believing let the easy thing be easy. Right. And I'm like, sweet. And what's also interesting is that like I maintained, like I really think to my core, I actually am pretty cool because I maintained like the coolness the whole time. I was like, just be chill. And really lived it. And I partway through, like she was trying to help me because she didn't understand what was happening with me. And she told me afterward, she was like, I was trying to help you partway through because you were having like no reaction and I couldn't tell like what you needed. And so I went into help her mode. And she's like, but I kind of feel like you didn't need any help. And I was like, I didn't, I was totally fine. Yeah. And she was like, I've not seen anybody do something like that before. And I'm like, it's because of them. Like they told me, let the easy thing be easy. I was like, that's the only reason that it was different. And so then third session, she's like, I'm not even going to help. I'm just going to be here with you. And I was like, cool. And so go back in and it's just a light sweat this time. Like that's it.
Wow.
It's a light sweat. And then I got to do the thing that I wanted to do the first time where she was like, okay, it's minute 20. And I was like, 2 more minutes.
And so you did 22.
I did the 22 minutes and again, just a light sweat. And she's like, I've never seen anybody do this. And she was like, what's the deal? And I was like, it's the hypnosis. It's just like knowing that I have this connection to my team all the time. Of course, you would call it something different, right? But like for me, I call it hypnosis. For you, you call it, your version of checking in with the records, et cetera. Like you have your version of things. And it's just having that clear connection and knowing that you can trust your team. And if they are telling me it's easy, like I really need to lean into that and believe it. And so for me, it was such an acute, like just compact lesson where I'm like, the easy thing, like the hard thing really can be easy. And it's only hard because you believe it's hard. And then if you apply that to basically everything in your life, there's so much that we're told is hard. And I think a lot of people tell you that it's hard, A, because they believe it, but B, because they get some bragging rights if it's hard. Like it's more impressive.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I didn't think about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So they want to tell you how hard this is. And we all want to believe each other, right? So you're in this like state of believing like, oh, well, they say it's hard and they've done it. So I need to believe them. And now I'm going to go ahead and believe it's hard. And the universe is like, or you could just go ahead and believe it's easy and just like do it.
I love what you're saying there, because that's the way that I've like always done my like insane moves and my leaps of faith, and with sometimes with like $100 in my pocket and things like that, where you're like, people would be like, "You're insane! What are you doing? Wait, no!" And I'm like, "I don't know. The universe can take care of me. I don't know how, but it's gonna happen."
Yep. Yeah, I love too that you're significant other, that you're like, hey man, it's you. I bet that burns him up so much.
It even says to me like, "What would you do if it wasn't me?" That it would be something else or someone else.
Yes.
But it doesn't matter. They're just you're the portal to help me today. I don't know what it will be tomorrow. We will see.
So funny. Oh my gosh. Tell him I said thanks. I'm very grateful you get to live this life of freedom and have fun conversations like this. So yeah.
I will. And that's the thing, where I'm like, this had to happen. And I think everybody can go back to that. Like you see something awful happen in your life, you go, but that had to happen because it led me to this. It's like, I would still be in Cayman Islands working at, like, for example, the bookstore that I was working at, working a lot of hours. I was doing maybe 1 or 2 readings a weekend because that's all I could do because I was too busy working.
Exactly.
And I wouldn't have done the podcast and I wouldn't have done all this stuff. So it's like a lot of times you need to lose something to be able to convert that into something that you need and your soul needs, or even the collective needs.
Yeah. Well, like I was saying, Charles and I, like me not having that really stable safety net actually becomes like this launching, right?
Yeah.
It's like the safety net tightens and becomes a trampoline where it actually helps you to spring forward. I want to tie what we're talking about into 2 really important things. One, we can tie it back into the dragons, because some people are probably like, that combo experience sounded really interesting, but I don't know how to get to a combo practitioner. Let's talk about the dragon purification process. Let's definitely talk about that. Let's also talk about, you were mentioning that you were so busy in that bookstore that you couldn't do your readings because you're over here trying to like, get some dollars together rather than doing like your purpose in the world. So
which is the whole point of the Matrix. Keep you busy with survival over here so you don't go and do what you're really here to do.
Exactly. So what do you want to talk about first? Let's do dragons first. And
do dragons, yes.
I love how I'm like, what do you want to do? I'm like, or I'll just like talk over you. And
you're going to do whatever you want to do. You do whatever you want.
That was very dragon of me, I have to say.
Make you think that you're going to choose, but I'm choosing for you.
I'm like, what do you want to do? Dragon thing will be like really quick. But then the money thing I think is going to be a whole fun can of worms. Okay, so the dragon, the purification process, because people are probably like, I want to do a purification process. So all they need to do, close their eyes, connect in, ask their dragon. And even if they don't have a dragon that's assigned to them, if they're listening to this, they have a dragon that wants to come and help. Hence them listening to what we're about to say. By the way, I've had clients who independently have started doing this on their own before they ever heard me talk about it. So this is a thing that the dragons want to know about, right? And so invite in your dragons, or if you don't have some, just invite in like the dragons.
Mine's purple. What color is yours? I'm seeing purple.
I think I have a few.
The white one.
Coming in right now is the black one.
Okay.
I think it's actually the very first dragon I ever met too. But yeah, so inviting your dragons or the ones that want to come in temporarily for you, and then invite them to blow on you, or however you want to phrase it, their fire. I know. I'm like, how do you breathe?
Guys, I'm very spiritual, but I also have a really dirty mind.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, it's fun, but it's not that fun. You know what I mean?
Anyways, no, yes. So like the fire, the cleansing fire.
Breathe on you, the dragon fire. And what's really fun about this is that when I'll mention this to my clients, they're like, okay. I'm like, it's actually surprisingly pleasant. Like it feels really, really good. And so it's not painful. It's not uncomfortable. It's actually really soothing and very, very pleasant. And so they breathe on you, their fire, and there's this purification process that just washes like all through you as they're purifying you with their dragon fire. That's actually a really easy way. No shitting yourself, no vomiting, no having to go to Hawaii or wherever to have like frog stuff put in your arm. And people,
are these frogs local to Hawaii, by the way?
No, they're not.
No?
I almost said I don't know. I do know. They are, I cannot remember which South American country, but it's a
like probably Brazil or something where it's in the rainforest.
Yeah, definitely. And so what they do is they get the frog venom and then they dry it out on this wooden stick.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, so it comes to you dry. And then what you do is you set your intentions and you vibe with the frog. That's the other thing. I was like, frog, like we're besties. Like, you know, I did all this like good energy with the frog too. I'm like, thank you so much. Like, I'm really looking forward to this, even though she's saying I'm gonna shit myself. And so
I'm really looking forward to it. I promise.
yeah. I'm like, it's gonna be cool, right? And so you do your intentions and then you spit in this little cup, and all of it's like really sacred, like all this. It's funny. I want to say,
Why do you have to spit?
I think it's because you are mixing your energy with your saliva, but then also you need something to moisten the dried up venom. So what she does is she scrapes off from the stick the dried up venom and then puts the scraped off dried stuff into your saliva and then mixes it up and then turns it into like these little balls. And then the little balls are what go on to, it's funny, now I'm saying balls and I want to giggle. And then these little balls.
Welcome to my world.
Again, Lorena, we love you so much.
Lorena, that's the thing. Like, that's the difference. If Lorena were here, she would be keeping us in check.
I know. Lorena, why did you leave us alone?
You're not here to make sure that we don't be childish.
Goes away and the kids are like, do you want to eat s'mores for dinner? They're like, yeah, of course I do. So then and so that turns into the little balls that are put on your skin, and that's why like they're so easy to also take off because they're very so you can do the dragon fire purification process and not worry about getting your hands on this frog venom, right? Okay, so that's about the dragon fire. And then do you have anything you want to say about that, or should we talk about the money stuff?
No, I love it. I was just thinking that you could even probably use the fire. What I'm seeing is like you use that fire thing to like the blocks in the road that you're having issues with. You see like them go over it and like burn that issue for you. Like get rid of it.
I had not thought of that, and that is perfect. Absolutely. Yeah, like trailblazing and like literal blaze as part of it.
The burning is also purification. So it's like it can make the path that maybe is blocking you, burn what's blocking you and let it kind of restabilize for what it needs to for you to walk down that path.
Yeah, let it be like a purely positive, pleasant path. Let the easy thing be easy.
Yeah.
I'm doing that today.
I want to add to that, like what I'm understanding from my Akashic records when we're talking about that is that the only thing that's missing from that path is we actually have to decide, like the click in your brain where you decide, like you said, easy thing, easy. We have to decide that we want things to work out. We don't want those struggles anymore. We have to decide them because somehow we decide to have blockages and problems. Somehow we choose them. Yeah. Like our brain, right?
Yeah. And there's also, so there is the secondary gain effect, which I'll explain in just a second. But then I think that sometimes I think we really bullshit ourselves sometimes. Like sometimes we create these blocks and then what we do is we check in with our team. They're like, oh, I'm supposed to have this block. Maybe you're right. But I'm willing to bet that at least a percentage of those people, they are not actually supposed to have those blocks. They just are so unsure of what to do about it, or unsure of themselves, or unsure of the world, or unsure of something. And then they tell themselves that. And I get it. That could be a stepping stone, like believing that maybe is a stepping stone to where they're supposed to go. And some people probably are supposed to have a block for that lifetime. But yeah, the idea of releasing those blocks by way of the dragon fire, that's a really, really nice idea. And then there are so many things that we tell ourselves that are blocks that don't need to be, and that ties nicely back into the financial abundance conversation, right? We are living in a time where, yes, it would be great to do a wand to go like money go away. But until that wand shows up or we become that wand or whatever, like it is the system that we're living in. And so we can fight that if we want to, or we can also think of it as a puzzle, like a game, So like, if other people can figure it out and we're magical, why wouldn't we be able to figure it out? Right. And we have these teammates, and we also have the future version of ourselves in our highest timeline that we can shift into. And she's already figured it out. So why not tap into that stuff? Right. And so for me, like, I feel like a big part of my purpose, yes, spiritual hypnotherapy, but also helping other spiritual hypnotherapists become financially independent and abundant, if that is something that they're drawn to. And so for me, because I care about that very much, like, you know how you've got, like, yes, you have your purpose, but you also need to have your why. And so I want to help people with soul empowering hypnosis. Yes, the clients. I also want to help the practitioners. Like, why are we leaving the practitioners in the cold?
Yeah,
like,
because
why
if they can dedicate them their time to that, then they can do more good work as well.
Exactly. And so it's like, yes, the clients, always the clients, like, of course we want to help the clients, but so often that's all people talk about. It's like, you can do both. Like, we can help the clients and improve the lives of the practitioner. This is a totally possible thing. They don't have to be mutually exclusive. So yeah, so that's a big part of my work in the world. And what's interesting about that is, when you start to talk about financial abundance in front of spiritual people, some people are immediately going to get it. They're like, yes, I would like to be able to live comfortably and not exhaust myself.
And I deserve it. I have the right to have that.
Yeah. And it's like, why do we only let people who are exhausting themselves, whether it's at a minimum wage job or a 9-to-5 job, or it's like, we're not here. I mean, again, some people, yes, I get it. Everybody has their life's purpose, but for a lot of us, we are not here to live that life. And I think that's part of why it feels so unsatisfying, so uncomfortable, where it's like, that's not actually the thing that's meant for you. And then there is this weird thing that happens in the spiritual community where they're like, but money is bad and evil. And it's like, no, greed is bad, and taking advantage of other people is bad, but money itself is not. And so it's very interesting to see how people handle that. And some people get it immediately, where they're like, yes.
Well, the saying, money is the root of all evil.
Right. But it's actually, I think it's actually the love of money is the root of all evil, which I would even take that away. Because it's like, well, you can love and appreciate that there is this thing that is a tool, right?
You're just loving what it can bring to your life and the possibilities it brings.
Freedom. Circling back to what we were talking about in the beginning, for me, money is purely freedom. Like, that's how
Which is exactly why we have individuals that are on the top of the pyramid who control the flow of money, because if you don't have access to it properly, then you can probably work for them or under them.
Yes, you have no freedom anymore. You are just trying to survive. I think that's also why, going back to what we were talking about tribes, and if you're ostracized, that your life is at stake now. I think that people have such a strong reaction to money and financial abundance because that's our new version of, are you going to be able to survive or not? So it's not about like, can you hunt anymore? It's not about, can you farm anymore? It's actually about like, can you go to the grocery store and actually buy this thing?
Like, now we're going to an era where everyone's looking at the inflation and the prices of things that they used to buy for half of it go up. And it's almost a survival mode energy that kicks in for a lot of people. It's
very much a survival mode energy. And I think that's part of the spiritual community, why they get so almost emotionally violent. When I say almost, I mean, some of them get emotionally violent about the topic of money, and you can feel like their like fear of death kicking in that moment, where it's like, you're so afraid right now, and they don't know that they're afraid. They just know that they think that you're bad, and they project onto you. And then it's just like, no, you're believing a lot of propaganda. Of course, you can't tell anybody that, because they're gonna.
Oh, it's like telling an angry. What's it? Telling a woman to relax. Don't tell me to relax. I'm relaxed.
That has worked 0 times ever. Ever. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, if somebody's like freaking out on you about money, and it's just like, tell me about your fear of money and how you're projecting it onto me. I'm sure that's going to turn out okay. That's going to.
Oh God.
Yeah, but it's really interesting because you can feel their survival mechanism kick in. And it's just that they're afraid that they're not going to have enough of this thing that society has turned into basically the way that we survive now. Yeah, it's very interesting. So for me, I care so much about, of course, the client, of course, but then also making sure that the practitioner, if they want that, right? Because we all have different paths, but if they want that they have access to freedom, financial abundance, flexibility, like all of the freedoms, right? So flexibility within scheduling, flexibility within finances, flexibility.
And also, if the practitioner is doing good, then they can assist better the person. If you have the practitioner in like survival mode, then how can they even be good assistance to the other individual that's about to get in a session with them?
Yeah, exactly. You're exhausted from your 9 to 5, or you're worried about paying your mortgage, or the whole thing is if the practitioners are happy and healthy, they're such good teammates to these clients. And also the clients are looking to the practitioner as a guide, and it's not just spirit realm guide. Like, you want to work with somebody who has sorted out the stuff that you would like to be able to sort out in your session. And a lot of clients are interested in financial abundance. So that's an interesting thing where it's like, okay, you want to help somebody with financial abundance, but you also haven't totally figured it out yourself, right? So I feel like as practitioners, it's like a really nice, loving responsibility that we have to keep moving forward our path so we can help these clients. And the idea that financial abundance is not part of that. I mean,
we even did a whole part of our course, the Akashic Records level 2, because you're reading other people, right? And we did a whole section about the energy of money and how you need to charge your services and all that stuff. And I've been doing this for so many years, but I remember once a friend of mine's like, I talked to a friend of mine, she was saying to me, I talked to a friend of mine and she was telling me that if you really are reading Akashic Records and you're really helping people, you shouldn't charge, because if God gave you the gift, then you should give it away for free. I said, and what, I'm not permitted to eat food? I'm not allowed to eat food. I'm supposed to just breathe in air and I'm supposed to survive that way. And my child shouldn't be eating either because I have a gift. How does that make sense? God wants me. She said, well, I kind of told her that, you've been doing it for a while. I'm like, she doesn't get it. It's like the poverty program for spiritual people, which by the way, was put upon us from the people of the pyramid on the top. Because they want you busy.
It's propaganda. It is bullshit propaganda. And I really think that what happens is that people are so afraid that they are not going to be able to unlock it. Like, they're not going to be able to find their own financial abundance. And so then they're like, no, this is bad. I'm going to go ahead and believe the propaganda. The money is bad. And I'm going to also try to place it on you. And it's like, listen, if you haven't figured out your shit about money, don't decide that I can't figure out my shit about it.
Yeah.
It's really, really interesting. And that lady saying that is a perfect example of somebody trying to guilt you. And it's just like, okay, that makes zero sense whatsoever. And I wish that more and more, and that's why I'm making sure, like, I saw that opening to talk about it. I feel like this is a conversation that I'm going to keep bringing up whenever I can, because there's such bullshit that people believe about it. And you can keep believing the bullshit if you want to, but a lot of us are tired of it. We're over it.
Yeah. And we're talking about, like, of course, that I come from Uruguay, South America, and you'll have a lot of those older little ladies where, like, when you were a teenager, you wanted to know about like your crush or something. You would go to like the psychic that, like, you take the bus to get there. Right. And they would charge barely anything sometimes. Right. And you'd go there because someone recommended, but you saw where she lived. She lived in this like little house. Sometimes they were sleeping 3 to 4 people in a room. And you could tell that, like, they were eating basic food, and you'd think, how is that right? Because she has an ability, she can only charge a little bit. She has a whole family to take care of.
Right. Yeah, 100%. I would say also pay attention. This is a lesson that I have learned in the last year. I think that there can be incredibly talented people that are really good teammates that do stay in that more, let's call it simple version of living. And there's no judgment on that, because again, I don't know anybody's path and what they're supposed to do. I'm just saying, like, there's also a good chance that they don't have to live like that. And so for me, one thing that I've learned is, if I'm going to be selecting teammates in the future, I want to know, how do they actually live? Mm-hmm. Like, are they actually healthy? And I mean all of the versions of health. Do they actually have good physical health, right? So they've actually figured out how to live really well within their body. I care about that. So that's the teammate that I want to learn from. Financial health. Have they figured that? I care about that. So that's the teammate that I want to learn from. Spiritual health. I care about that. So that's one of those things where, like, word of mouth is actually not good enough for me anymore, because the word of mouth, like, I need it to be like, have I actually checked out how this person really, really is? Is this somebody I really can learn from? And I don't mean learning a lesson the hard way, because I already did that. right? I'm like, no. Like, cause I've chosen teammates based on word of mouth in the past. And I'm like, I actually don't like this teammate at all. Like, that's not the right teammate for me. So like the teammates moving forward, I really want to see that they have done their own work and that they have unlocked these things because they put in, like they invested in themselves, which means that it's actually a smart investment for me to pay attention to them having blazed that trail. So I made a YouTube video about this a couple days ago about how it's so important. Like you and I, we continue to do our own work. Like we're constantly in the spirit realm, not just for our clients, but also we want to improve and better ourselves.
There's always junk to get out.
What's that?
There's always junk to get out.
That there is, totally. And so I think that, I know that makes us better teammates for our clients because we continue to do our own work. Like we know firsthand what they are experiencing and how to make it better. So yeah, working with these teammates that are really well versed in health. And I think that that includes the financial health.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course. Because it means you have a healthy perspective on it. You give yourself worth. I think the word worth is really important because a lot of us don't realize how much we're worth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know what's been fun? This is okay. I've been like doing little hints about December 5th. Here's another hint for those. Like, I feel like there's probably like one person out there. I'm sure it's my best friend, Bob. Hi, Bob. I love you. He watches all the stuff that I do. So
hi, Bob.
Is there another hint? Like I'm just dropping hints about December 5 for Bob, basically. But it's also very interesting that if you have a group of people who are around you, who got to know you and supported you and were cheerleaders for you and teammates with you during that phase where you're still figuring things out and like you kind of oscillate between like having a really good month and then back into like not feeling so good. And so that even though if you have a good month, but you oscillate back, like you're still not fully healed, right? And I mean all the versions of health. And so when you form your team from that like wobbly, not so healthy energy, but then you move into like, no, this is very stable. I am very healthy. I am doing the things from doormat to like, no, like I'm actually going to step into my, like who I really am now. It's really interesting to see how things shake out. That's a December 5 nugget right there. It's very interesting to see how things shake out once you step into that and how people react. And some people are like, finally, thank God, we knew she had it in her. Like it's about time. And then others like they do the whole like you've changed. I'm like, I know, for the better. So
some people get really triggered by change. Like when they see someone change, they'll be like, oh, you changed. Yeah, we're all supposed to change all the time. It's called evolution.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also very interesting when you change for the better and you know it's for the better and they treat you like it's for the worse. And then, so I'll make a whole YouTube video about it one day. But while all this December, I shifted timelines an hour before this incident happened. So, and my team had told me that if you shift timelines and it gets real wonky, because remember I shifted timelines March 12th of 2020 and 2 hours later, the world shut down.
Oh yeah. I remember telling you.
Yeah. And they were like, if it gets wonky, that's just a sign that it worked. Now I've been figuring this out. It doesn't have to get wonky. I figured out how to make it not wonky. But if it does get wonky, it's just a sign that it worked. And December 5, wonky, an hour after I asked to shift timelines. And there was this shakeout of like, this inner circle, like half of us made it out the other side and half of us not. It was, and what's interesting is immediately after that half went away and they were like, you've changed, you're bad. And I mean like crazy versions of saying that I'm bad, like so crazy.
Like triggered.
They were triggered.
Yeah.
They were real triggered, but like saying like stuff about me. Like one of them telling people and told people that I don't care if somebody eats meat. I don't care, whatever, you do you. But has been telling people that I've started eating meat. And I'm like,
but who cares anyways if you did, whatever, if you did, you did. If you did, you didn't.
This is what I'm saying. Like it's a weird
It doesn't define you really. It
doesn't define anyone. Yeah, exactly. But like this half that didn't make it on the side, they're pissed. And creating these justifications. That's just like one example. It's been very interesting.
You know what my favorite meme is? Your opinion of me is none of my business.
Exactly. It's been very interesting. But yeah, so I asked to shift timelines. An hour later, this like crazy incident kicks off. And the 5 that didn't make it out, I had no clue. I had no clue that they were not good teammates. And then as soon as they went away, I immediately lost weight, started to feel even happier and healthier. Business immediately started to take off in like a really,
Wow.
really good way. Meanwhile, I'm supposed to be like this really like bad person who's changed. I'm just like,
Life
hold
is
up a
good.
mirror. Yeah, hold up a mirror, ladies. Hold up a mirror.
You just stepped into your power, and it triggers people sometimes when somebody steps into their power because they
Yeah.
would love to be there.
That's exactly part of it. Yeah, for some they would love to be there. And then for some, I think that it's a very scary thing for them. And it was just like yeah. A lot of fear energy that day.
Yeah.
But what's great about that is that my team has been telling me for a long time, because I grew up in an abusive household, right? And
I remember
so
that, yeah, your book, you talked about it.
yeah, I have long been afraid of having any spotlight on me. Like, I know I'm supposed to help the world in a really big way. And I was afraid to be seen, because being seen increases your chances of being abused by other people, right? Like them basically saying like hurtful things about you. And I've seen people say bad things about Brian Weiss, and that guy is like the real deal.
I
nice
cannot think about
guy.
anything mean about that guy.
And I've actually met him and talked to him. We
Yeah,
stayed
you
at
have
the
pictures
same
with him and stuff.
Airbnb. Yeah, we stayed at the
Yeah.
same Airbnb. Like, I've actually gotten to really spend time with him. He's a nice person. His wife is nice. His daughter's nice. It's a nice family. And so if you see somebody say something bad about Brian Weiss, you're like, oh, okay. Even the nicest people have this stuff said
Yeah.
about, right?
Yeah.
And so my team for a long time, they're like, Courtney, you're protected. It's okay. Like, don't worry about it. And then getting to live what happened December 5th and how they've responded since then, and getting to live that and knowing that it's okay and feeling okay with everything that's been happening has been even more empowering to me, where I'm like, oh my God, greatest fear is like totally happening. And I'm like, fuck, I feel fine. Oh my God.
It's like you went through it and you overrid it, and it's like I don't have to be fearful of that anymore because I know I already handle it.
It was an upgrade and a good lesson to just be like, holy shit, like this is actually okay. And now I'm just like, part of my wishes to the universe, I'm like, I'm ready to be seen. Let's go. Let's do it. I'm ready. So yeah, it's a big, big gift. I still think that those people are absolutely still, like, for the most part, soul teammates and soul friends. Cause you know how we have soul contracts, and like sometimes the contract is to do a not nice thing. And so I'm like, you guys nailed it. Thanks.
Thank you. You helped put me on my path. That reminds me of Sam Smith, the singer who became like super famous and rich. And he's like, I want to thank the guy that broke my heart. Now I'm a millionaire. Thank you very much. Because all the songs were about the person that he was dating, or I don't know if he was living with a person or what, but yeah. And it reminds me of Sam Smith. Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much beauty in, if you can just see the positive and the stuff that looks like it's bad. That's probably, the bad stuff has probably the most positivity within it. You just
it's called like the crisis, right? That's how I felt about my divorce and everything that happened that led to the divorce. I remember being in bed till 3 a.m. crying. I had a newborn baby, and I was like dealing with my husband never coming home at the time. And I was like, it was like, I rock bottom, I crashed, and I wouldn't be here right now if that
You're
hadn't
like,
happened.
is there a scorpion that can take care of this for me? Because that would be great.
Sometimes I feel like stinging the scorpion back, to be honest with you, but okay. I think we all have that.
Of course.
Part of it. Yeah. But oh my God, we got into, okay, we did do the dragons, we got into angels, we got into venom of all sorts. What else did we get into? We spoke about, well, money,
Financial abundance and health, and yeah.
A little bit of everything. Yeah. Oh my God. The typical conversations we usually have with you.
As always.
But anyways, tell everybody like all the stuff that you've got going on, because you have new projects are still going. So let us know everything that you're doing and people can look into, sign up for, and all that.
Okay, so part of, I was saying earlier that everything really, really took off. Like, as soon as I released those people, it felt like I had this boat and all of these anchors. I didn't realize they were anchors, and now the anchors have been pulled up and the boat is just like, woo, like, let's go, feel the wind in your hair. So what I recently finally released is my brand new website. And so before,
okay.
right?
Yeah.
Before, it's like, okay, you need to go to this website and this website and this website.
I remember that. Yes.
About this website. And so now all you have to do is go to CourtneyStarkey.com. And it's really nicely laid out. It's so pretty too. It's really pretty. And so you go there and you can very easily navigate it to see, how do you want to schedule one-on-one sessions? How do you want to get your SCH certification? How do you want to buy cornflower? How do you want to join the SCH membership?
Cornflower is her book, for those that don't know.
Yes. So like, it's all right there and very obviously placed. So if they go to CourtneyStarkey.com, they can do all of the things very easily.
Okay, awesome. And then remind everybody, you have the membership thing.
Yes.
Maybe you want to explain that a little bit?
The SEH membership, or Soul Empowering Hypnosis membership, that is a monthly membership where you can attend a live online group hypnosis session. And of course, because everybody's in different time zones or has different schedules, they can also access the recording of the session. One thing I've finally figured out is that I need to be closer to the computer for Zoom to really pick up my voice. I'm 3 years into this.
Well, right now you haven't been that close, but I've been hearing you fine.
It's because I've been loud.
Oh, okay. Well, you're just
when I do my hypnosis voice, it's quieter and calmer.
Oh, that's right. Okay, yes, that's why. That's the difference.
3 years into doing this, and finally, Michelle, she was like, I've been trying to figure out why I can't hear your voice that well in hypnosis. And she's like, it's because I lean back and I get nice and cozy too.
You can also get like an external mic that might like pick up the sound better.
There are definitely solutions.
Yeah.
I didn't know. Right. And so I finally figured out, like, okay, actually get closer. I do have a mic. Have I ever hooked it up? No, but I'm in my own power now, because I was bullshitting myself where I was like, I'm not tech savvy. So I never hooked it up. And I'm like, I can do anything I want. So I'm going to hook it up. It's just that, like, now I know I don't even need to. I can just actually project my voice, go figure. So sorry, I was just really tickled to figure that out a couple days ago. I really segued into that topic, but yes, so you can have the monthly live online sessions, or if it doesn't work for your schedule, you can participate by way of the recording, which you can actually hear me now. Yay, upgrade. And so that's a wonderful membership. And then the one-on-one sessions, I recently shifted into, I'm not doing just one session anymore. Like, I'm offering packages, because for me, like, the most satisfying thing in the world is to see those repeat clients and see how much progress they've been making between sessions.
And we can see it in your book as well, how like all those sessions is more than one led to the whole story thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I know that there's so many practitioners that if you want to have just one session, which I totally get, like, there's a zillion practitioners out there in the world where you can have just one session. Awesome. For me, I'm like, let's go. Like, let's commit, let's do it. And so it's a package of 12 sessions in a year or 24 sessions in a year. And I'm just like, this is the time. Like, it's 2023. And 23 is one of the numbers that represents change. And I'm like, guys, if you want to change, like, let's do it this year. Like, let's stop talking about it. Let's actually do it. So we got the one-on-one sessions, the packages. And then, like I was saying, if you want to become an SEH certified practitioner, that's really nice and straightforward. You can take level 1, then 2, then 3. Level 3 is mastery. Level 1, you can take live, but you can also, I've turned it into an evergreen product where it's pre-recorded. So again, people have different schedules. So if you want to take it on demand at your own pace, you can do that with level 1, which is a really nice entryway into becoming an SEH certified practitioner. So it's so cool. There's so many great things.
I've literally done all of those things. So,
right?
Yeah,
I did the course. It's like, why pick just one?
I did the one-on-one and the membership. And also the angel thing that I was talking about, that I said, like, that I did one of the audios, right? It was with the membership that I couldn't go to live.
Right.
And I was doing it at my house on my own time. Yeah.
It's so perfect. Yeah. The ability to have that flexibility. And then also, I found another nice thing about being in the membership and having access to the recordings is a lot of people, even though they make it live, a lot of people end up having a favorite. Like, among all the sessions, there's one where they're like, that's my favorite. And so I also like, I know you can go pee and then go back, but I quite like pausing, going to pee, and
going back again. So that's what I like about like not being live.
Yeah. You know, for sure, you're not going to miss a thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay. So we did the membership. You talked about, we know that you have a book, the website, the new website, the courses, and we'll have all in the bio, we'll have your website and all the information that they need. And is there anything we're missing?
I mean, the only thing would be the social medias, where it's just like the Instagram, but all of that is also in my website. So the Instagram, the LinkedIn, the Facebook. I finally started making YouTube videos again about a week ago. And it's really sweet because a lot of times you think nobody is going to miss you, but then I start making them again after about 3 months off. And so many people are like, thank you for coming back. And I'm like, oh, like, like somebody can, oh,
Yeah, exactly. Oh, so you're gonna have to send me the link to the place where you did the frog thing, because people might ask about it, so then they can easily get to it if you want to recommend.
I do
going to
have
that
a
person.
recommendation. I don't think she has a website.
Okay, maybe there's like some sort of, I don't know, anything you can give me that I can put at the bottom in the bio, because people
I
are
have a cell
probably gonna
phone
ask
number.
about it.
Yeah.
Oh no, I shouldn't put her cell phone number
I
on
know.
about that. No.
Well, so that's okay.
Ask her for an email, and then we can add, just tell her that we talked about it, and ask her for an email
Okay,
that she's
I
okay
will.
with sharing, because it's going to show up in all the platforms of the podcast.
I have
Yeah.
got to do a plug for Michelle. There's so many beautiful practitioners out there where it's like, just put up a simple website. Like, it doesn't have to be complex.
There's like Wix, Squarespace.
Yes. Yeah. And so Michelle, let's also put in her information. Michelle will help people design, like, she's so spiritual and tech savvy and all that good stuff. She will help people design a really basic website just so that they can have that footprint in the world. Because it's like, they're these amazing practitioners and they're like, I don't know how to design a website. Most people don't. That's why it's nice to have these teammates that do know how and can get something for you so that you have that way to connect to the world really, really easily. So yeah. I'll get the combo practitioner's email address, assuming that she's okay with that. I think she will be. And then we'll give you Michelle's information as well.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you for talking about everything under the sun with me.
I do love
or wait, no, everything under and above the sun with me.
And within.
Yeah, exactly. And within. And I'm sure we'll be back with other really cool things to talk about. It was interesting to see how it went, because since Lorena wasn't here, she wasn't here to control us and like keep us in line with the subject and things, right?
Yes.
and let us be a little bit childish. But
I'm sorry, Lorena, and thank you for giving us an opportunity.
And for editing our 2-hour conversation. Thank you, Lorena. We love you. All right. So we'll see everybody in the next episode, and anything you guys want to find out about Courtney will be in the bio. Bye, guys. Thank you.